with that.
I highly
still
doubt
agree,
that
blow
there's
it
gonna be
up,
another
but
Bolshevik
I think
revolution in Russia. It's never going to happen.
it may not be in our time.
I'm gonna break up the fun slightly, boys. I am fucking falling asleep, but not because of your rhetoric and talk. It's all good in the hood. I'm tired. Gotta bounce.
Take it easy, Jungle. Appreciate
Jungle,
you,
you
kindly,
can tell
sir.
me I'm boring. It's all right, buddy.
Yeah, it was you. It was you. Have a good night.
Have a good one, man.
Have a good one, Jungle.
Good to see you, Jungle.
But yeah, like in terms of like, here's the issue though with NATO. Like both UK and France have nukes,
Mm-hmm.
and Russia obviously as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the only thing about like, because me as a European, if I had my way and France and UK didn't have nukes, I'd be like begging Donald Trump to leave NATO and all this kind of shit, because the government spending that they do is ridiculous. It's this like fucking fart into a wine glass and then sniff it and all. Like that's basically like the quote unquote elites or the politicians in the EU. And all these like European countries that are like pro fucking like globalization, all this kind of shit. You know what I mean? It's like do you know the meme where there's a little tiny like chihuahua and then there's this big, huge, massive dog, and like the chihuahua's like barking like mad and all this kind of shit, and then the owner opens the door and then all of a sudden like the chihuahua like shuts the fuck up. That's what needs to happen to Europe.
I think we should. I've been saying this since the late '80s. We should just level the fucking Middle East. Besides,
Absolutely.
You can't
And let them rebuild. And let them rebuild by themselves.
Turn it all to glass.
Well, because it sets a precedence, though, right?
Yeah, don't fuck with
What,
them.
like World War II? When we absolutely destroyed Germany? We destroyed their economy? Or Japan? Right? We literally blew up their two biggest Christian cities.
It's a fair point because they are really good cities now.
No, they were before. They were before we blew them up. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were devout Catholics.
So you're for it or against it?
Look, my position used to be like, or my position is kind of, it was like, I understood the first one, but the second one I didn't until I used a microwave. Right? And I pulled it out and I'm like, why is Papa not surrendering? So then I had to nuke it again.
That's very good.
Well, since we're talking about radiation, it actually is used to demold cannabis, which I have a huge problem with. But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, well, think about this. Think about this. The more people died that were outside the blast radius in Nagasaki and Hiroshima years later from a disease that's almost like a type of blood cancer. It's called myeloid dysplastic syndrome or myelodysplasia from their radiation. And there are people in the U.S. dying from that same disease right now from the chemicals in hair dye. One of them is a chemical that emits low levels of formaldehyde into the bloodstream. My mother died from that disease.
I want to say spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel. Good call.
Spin that motherfucking wheel, boys. Gentlemen, is inflation still the biggest threat to the average family in a modern day?
No.
No. No. We're talking family, we're talking kids, we're talking indoctrination. That's the biggest threat.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
I'm not quite sure that I actually agree. I'm not sure I agree with you on that.
Elaborate.
I'm gonna say no. I think
So-
secularism is a bigger threat.
I still think you're wrong there too. I think the biggest threat to the average family is women's access to higher education because it's the number one correlate to collapsing birth rates.
Correlation doesn't necessarily prove causation.
Doesn't causation, yeah. It's,
I agree with you that it doesn't necessarily prove causation, but when it happens consistently and universally, meaning it doesn't matter the nation, doesn't matter the religion, women's
Yeah,
access
it's
to
not
higher
universal.
education.
It's not universal in the Muslim.
So
It's not
like
universal.
The Muslim nation, the Muslim women don't have access to higher education.
What led to
no.
feminism?
Iran is Muslim.
fair,
and they definitely have
Basically,
access.
basically secularism, occultism.
Like, to be fair though, in the Muslim nations, they get married when they're like fucking 14 or something crazy like that, so they're able to pop out a couple of kids at least before they get to that age.
It's
Oh, yeah,
all right.
And most
that
Muslim women in those nations don't have access to higher education.
Some do.
Yeah, but the majority don't actually.
You know,
And
the
with
majority
that-
don't, but the ones that do, there isn't like as severe of a knock on that. But like, I think that the main thing that Steelborn's pointing to is that, like, especially in the West, when you look at like this big push to get women into higher level education, they're like the years where they're like most fertile, like that. I think it's like 16 to 24 or something, or 22 or something like that. Is like that, like that's when like a woman has her most eggs, or 18 to 24 or whatever it is. That's when she has her most eggs and all the stuff, and that's typically when the woman's going to college. She's spending all her time in college rather than you know.
Yeah, and all of that starts from the indoctrination at the younger level. That's what I was getting at. Like, you indoctrinate at a younger level to be like, well, no, you don't have to be, you don't have to have a family. You don't have to do this. You can go and it all starts from the indoctrination at the primary school age.
Well, yeah, but who are most of those teachers?
Post-indoctrinationists.
College-educated women?
Secularists.
Not all. They're not all secularists. There is an argument for secularism. It's a good thing. Ooh, that went real quiet.
I don't know.
Boo this man!
Okay, do you want secularism marriages or none?
Did you say secularism is a good thing?
There are women and men that are
secularist marriages will bump up that birth rate like no tomorrow.
Secularists generally aren't having kids.
Generally, but do you want no marriage or do you want secularist marriage?
I'd rather secularists did not
So
get married.
So you want no marriage at all?
I didn't say that.
For secular, like as a secularist, anyone that is a secularist, you don't want them to get married because there's no benefits. There's no benefits to a secularist marriage.
I don't see any. No.
Oh, so kids through secularist marriage are not a benefit.
How?
Because they're married and have kids.
But they're not having kids.
They're not having kids, and if they do, what are they teaching those kids?
Well, that's correct. But if they do, they are married, being brought up in a loving home, opposed to one-night stands and abortions throughout. What's better?
You don't have to be married to have kids.
But you ought to be, yeah.
Well, you should be, but secularist
marriage.
marriage.
So that you've just said, secularist marriage is a good thing.
Secularist
it's better
marriage.
To have kids to have kids in a secularist marriage than outside.
Well, hold on, isn't the highest birth rate amongst, at least in the United States, amongst the poorest population?
Yeah, which are also
the most religious.
Really?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The poorest are the most religious.
Yep.
Well, I wasn't saying that, but the birth
I,
rate is highest.
I get where you were going with that, Darth, but I would like to say that the poorest are also the most religious.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Grok is telling me that across the average, particularly in America, Christians tend to have 2.2 children on average, whereas the religious unaffiliated are 1.8. And weekly church attendance, highly religious, largely Christian, are 2.1 children per woman versus never attend / non-religious is 1.3 children per woman.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
And so what would be the stats on, you know, those that have one night stands, no marriage, and still kept the kid, brought up in like a single mum household?
What about
Or a
single
single
fathers?
dad? Or a single, yeah, correct, or a single dad. Either of those.
I'm a Christian, and I was basically my daughter was raised by me. Her mom passed away.
Look, single dads are not even comparable to single moms because the outcomes for children raised by single fathers is almost identical to the nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I just think secular marriage is like it's like an oxymoron. It's more of a partnership just to get the benefits, like you know, your spouse gets health care.
Oh, you brought up with a mum and dad in the house?
Well, they could have a mom and dad in the house and not be
Best
married.
outcomes for kids come from having a mum and dad in the house.
Yeah, but
Why not make it official?
they could have kids and be
You know,
secular
Tareyak,
and not be married. It's the same thing.
I think
Definitely
that I think there's another answer to this prompt as well. I would still say no, inflation is not the biggest threat, but no fault divorce could definitely be a good contender.
Yeah,
we go.
I would
That's a
agree with
good
that
one.
for sure.
Yeah,
And,
100%.
and I would say abortion.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think inflation's the biggest threat. I'm not even sure it's a threat to the average family.
well,
It could be. It could be.
It could
Right
be
now,
for
it's
sure.
not. Right now, it's
it's
definitely
a
not.
hindrance for sure, but it's not the biggest.
If you know how to
so
live within your
single
means, it's fine.
single unmarried women is 1 to 1.2 children per woman. Secular unmarried couples is 1.3 to 1.8 children per woman, and then Christian / religious married couples is 2.1 to 2.2.
It shouldn't be that close. I don't think it was that close, like maybe even 40 years ago.
Well, the problem is
You
because that
legalize
number
abortion,
of
bro.
Christians. The problem with that number is that it basically includes anybody who identifies as a Christian. So you're gonna have basically the average is brought down by the nominal Christians who claim to be Christians but practice their lives as a secularist. Whereas like you go to like somewhere like a devout Catholic or Orthodox church with regular attendance, dude, the birth rates in the Orthodox and Catholic church are like fucking, especially for the younger couples coming in, they're like 3 and 4. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
And the divorce rate for like Orthodox is like 11%. And I think Catholics is like 18.
Yep. What's the divorce rates for seculars that get married? About 60%.
So no. So middle to lower class secularists tend to have a much higher divorce rate. That's true. Somewhere around there, I think. I want to say like 60%. But college educated secularists tend actually not to. But the distinction is when it's a college educated secular couple, the woman initiates the divorce 90% of the time.
Yeah. So if you do away with no fault divorce, secularist marriage is. I mean, I don't see the argument.
Dude, if you get rid of no fault divorce, secularists aren't going to get married.
How?
Because if you get rid of no fault divorce, it's going to turn marriage back into an actual lifelong commitment, which the secularist has no justification for doing so aside from they just prefer that they do. So I feel like the majority of secularists, if it's not like because the way most secularists tend to rationalize it is like, well, I get all these insurance benefits and life insurance benefits and healthcare and stuff like that, right? And they rationalize it in different ways, right? If you ask a secularist why they want to get married, their answers are going to be vastly different.
Because I love my fiance.
Yeah, that's not the same, nowhere near the same justification as like if you were to ask like a devout Catholic or Orthodox or even a devout Muslim. Like they're gonna have totally different answers.
What would be a devout Catholic's answer?
To fulfill my obligations to God, because from my view, it's either become a monastic or become married.
Yeah, so what? I can't have all of those justifications absent God.
Become a monastic.
Yeah, the divorce rates for secular, non-religious are anywhere between 35 to 42%. Christians overall is 32 to 35%. But if you're practicing and an active Christian, that goes down to about 20 to 28%. And then Eastern Orthodox is 9%. But it's saying like Greek Orthodox is like 14%. So it's much lower if you're Orthodox.
Absolutely Orthodox. I don't think I couldn't even come up with an argument against that. But the seculars compared to the Catholic, it's chalk and cheese. There's not a lot there.
Spin that wheel.
I was about to say that too. Thank you, Susan.
Man didn't want to get wrecked by the seculars.
Gentlemen, is the deep state still running the scene? Is running the show behind the scenes?
Ask Candace.
Well, it's always the case. Don't you understand this, Tareyak? Whoever's actually, there's always secretly going to be a group of elites that are actually running everything behind the scenes, right? And we're never going to be able to quite tell you who the deep state is. It's just this group of people that are somehow all secretly in a cabal. But by the way, don't ask me for names and what their actual role is, because look, man, I'm just asking questions, all right?
That's the Candace playbook.
My man.
I agree.
I thought you were gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
I think most of them are unelected officials.
So I think the key thing to start with is like, who do we think the deep state is?
That's what I was going to ask.
How deep is the state?
How deep is your state?
Corporations that push in big lobbying money. You also have judges. I mean, look at all these judges that nobody's ever heard of. Like one judge in a particular state can basically overthrow an executive order by the President of the United States. I mean, then you also have your people in the CIA, the FBI. I mean, maybe not to the same extent now, but do we really know that? I mean, but I think there's always a deep state running the show.
Is it now?
Oh yeah, maybe to a lesser extent, but I still think so.
Is the deep state in the room with us right now?
I don't know. I gotta get my bug probe out and go check.
So
it's not quite like the deep end of the pool. It's just like that mid level of the pool where you can kind of just stand on your toes and you got your head above water. That's like where we're looking at it as far as deep as it is, sort of thing.
Well, and the reason I ask is because like the whole way Trump got elected again was to get rid of the deep state, right?
That was the promise.
But they never really clearly defined what the deep state is. It's a swamp.
Yeah, this is the problem that I have with especially a lot of your right wingers, right? A lot of your right wing commentators is they're like, the deep state's fucking doing this and and it's always this fucking ambiguous thing that they never really define what the fuck the deep state actually 100%. Is. Right, so you got that problem with it. But the other problem is like, I don't know what I swear I want to say this started basically with the Joe Rogan podcast, is where I that's where I can say like the real cultural shift happened, was like everybody came in and was like, "You're getting lied to, and I got the fucking truth, man. I've got this shit figured out."
Hey, if you want to read up about some actual facts behind this, read David Chaffetz's book about the deep state, and it's pretty eye opening. He has a lot of receipts.
There isn't like
The fact that
a full-on like definition of what the deep state is, though.
that's the thing, and like the fact that it's been published,
Yeah.
is it really?
How does he
like,
define-
Does it
how
have
does he define
those
the
sort
deep
of
state?
receipts? Like, really?
How does he define it?
David Chaffetz.
Yeah.
It's basically like all of the above. He goes into even as far
Do you
back
see
as
the problem with how ambiguous that can be?
Mhm.
you got to read the book. Like, look, just trust me. Just read the book. And you got,
Well, I feel like a
can't
lot of
do-
people, when they say the deep state, they're referring to unelected people, right? That are like running parts of the government. Now, I can see that at some point, but you gotta remember, these people, based on the way our system works, it's true that they weren't elected, but the person who appointed them usually was, right? Like people who run the FDA, and the people who work inside of HHS, the people who work inside the FBI and the CIA, right? It's true that they weren't specifically elected, but the person who put them there, who appointed them.
Well,
No,
and
it's
also,
not just-
like this actually kind of makes me think of the quote, "Don't attribute to malice what could easily be explained by stupidity."
Hanlon's razor, yeah, absolutely.
It's not just elected people though. It's like I said, like corporations. You could even argue the NRA, okay, could be part of the deep state.
Well, it's a lobbying thing, right?
Yeah, but that's part of how it works. It's not just one. It's not just one entity. It's not just
I
one
agree.
entity.
That's why we're talking about the definition of what is deep state. I mean, you could have said lobbying a long time
So
ago.
what we're saying is the deep state running the show behind the scenes. It's lobbyists. There are judges. It can even come down to like
Retard supremacy.
positions that are
Bro's retard maxing right now.
Yep.
whether unelected, right?
No,
like,
but you're describing retard supremacy. Like, literally. So would deep state be democracy?
That's a great question. That's a
Yeah.
fucking good question.
Yeah, it comes down to money. Money is power. And yeah, like you're always going to have your
True. That's descriptively true. Money is power. Like, yes, money gets you influence.
Yeah.
Like, I make this argument that you can't act as long as you have a democracy, you'll never be able to get rid of lobbying. Not possible to do.
So the deep state is retard supremacy.
The Jello Manifesto reigns supreme.
If the deep state is the deep state the Freemasons? Is it the Jews?
No, democracy. Just democracy in general. Like, general democracy.
That's a bunch of nonsense.
Is the leprechaun even still here? Did he fall asleep?
Okay. I would say like Bilderberg Group, BlackRock. They are definitely part of.
That's a huge lobbying thing, right? Like a huge corporate slash lobbying.
BlackRock is a real estate company essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So
On
so
paper.
this private company. Now look, if you wanna like you and me team up to like say fucking break up BlackRock, it's a fucking monopoly. I'm all with you there. But to claim that they're like BlackRock secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes
It's not just one. It's just not. I'm giving you an example. It's not just one entity. It's not just one corporation. It's not just corporations. It's it's an organization. It's a
Well, then it
group
wouldn't be the
behind the
deep
scenes.
state, right?
That's what the deep.
Because
No, that's what the deep state is.
no, but that's global. And
Then you have people like Charles Brennan. He's part of the deep state. People in the CIA like him.
Is Elon
James
Musk part of the deep
Clapper.
state?
What's that?
Is Elon Musk a part of the deep state?
Yeah, so deep
Um,
state is a term generally used to describe a purported covert network of entrenched, non-elected government officials, intelligence agents, and military personnel who are alleged to work independently of elected political leadership to influence or undermine government policy.
yeah, you can consider
also known as
Elon Musk.
lobbying. That's why I'm asking if
You can
lobbying
consider
is.
Elon
Also,
Musk
shout
a
out
part of
to
the deep state.
Jiraiya. One sec, my man. Says democracy is flawed because it only works if everyone's honest. I'd also add competent as well to that as well. Wheelbank's up to $27 as well, folks. But when you look at like I keep trying to point everyone towards like the global capitalists, that's like the hidden hand that we're not actually pointing towards, because we can all call out the communists, but nobody seems to be calling out these global capitalists. But who's funding these communists? Who's funding these marches? Who's funding like their lawyers and getting them out of prison and all this kind of shit? You know what I mean? That money has to come from somewhere. And when you have like these people who are literally electing or erecting like the United Nations and like these like different groups that seemingly are now starting to dictate international law and all this kind of shit. The fact that Trump keeps talking about the globalists and all this kind of stuff, if they have put certain peoples in place, you know what I mean, and like all of a sudden they're the ones that are affecting the actual policies that are being made or pushing the message that's really being said, like, is that not fundamentally undermining your democracy, which would match that definition of the deep state?
Yeah, like look at like people in the WHO, NIH. I would say Fauci, and he might have been unwillingly part of the deep state. Like some of these people actually believe that they're part of, quote, the greater good, but are still part of the deep state. And it doesn't have to just be on the left either. Like yeah, you're saying Elon Musk. Yeah, I would say he could be considered part of the deep
Well,
state.
then hold on. I have a question for you. So the deep state is a group of unelected people who basically their intention is to undermine the democratic rule of the people. Correct? That was what you agreed to?
Right. Not just
Okay.
not
Well, hold on a second, hold on a
unelected. Not just
They believe-
unelected.
Okay, whatever. I'll just grant that. But they think that they're doing the right thing. Some of them, even, right?
Sometimes they might. Not always.
Okay. Would you undermine American democracy if it was if you thought it was best for America?
I think democracy is bullshit.
Well,
So then I don't see how what
America's
these
not
people
a
are doing is any
democracy,
worse than
We're
what you
not,
are.
we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
yeah.
Well, okay, if we're a constitutional republic, then how is the deep state undermining our democracy and the will of the people?
By influencing politicians, people holding
So
high
again, back to
positions
lobbying,
of-
right?
Well, what do you mean by influencing, right? So if you're saying like
It's a good question.
if you're saying giving money to, I can say that makes sense in one sense, but like Charlie Kirk influenced politicians all the fucking time. Andrew Wilson, he influences politicians all the time. So does
Mhm.
Rob North. Actually, many politicians go to Andrew and Rob.
That's not lobbying, though.
Yeah, but they're being influenced by Andrew and Rob. They're asking how to make arguments. They're talking about politics. They're influencing these people.
That's taking advice.
So that's what I'm saying is, what do you mean by influencing politicians? Is it just
Big money.
like there's
It usually comes down to
Money is
okay?
the,
So then by that standard,
Well,
So
Couldn't we say
if I
also
gave
the
every
deep
dollar
state?
that I had, if I give every dollar I had to support Trump's campaign, right? And I got the chance to meet the guy, and I said, I've given you every dollar I've ever made. I want you to be the president, and here's what I want you to do. Here's what I'm supporting.
Mhm.
You're now part of
I
the
now the
deep
deep
state,
state?
Stillborn. You are
Yeah.
exactly right. You are the
Well, and
deep state, Stillborn.
I was about to ask
Welcome
you
to the
too,
deep
like,
state, Stillborn.
so, so what about like these state governors that have all these huge NGOs, right? Would that be considered deep state, where they're like paying all sorts of family members to
Yeah.
have fake businesses and all this
Yeah.
huge fraud bullshit?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, just so you know, by this standard, though, if NGOs are part of the deep state, then Turning Point USA was the deep state.
Yep.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't necessarily be like an individual or a particular NGO. It's the people that fund all that shit that goes on.
Was
You know what I
Charlie
mean?
Kirk's politics
Like,
influenced by his
especially when it
donors?
comes to money laundering.
No,
Money
Well, I was
laundering.
talking about like J.B. Fritzker specifically, the governor of Illinois, who's been known, I'm pretty sure it's 72 NGOs, and they're all his family members that do fucking nothing. And because of weird Illinois laws, he can just funnel money to him. He's also
Damn
a
it, Jeff, stop fucking
billionaire.
helping this guy. It's more fun to argue about whether or not the deep state exists with this guy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
doesn't
But can you at least, Steelborn, say that I made a good point?
Oh, no, you totally made a great point, but that's why I'm
All
like,
right,
shut the
thank
fuck
you,
up,
thank you.
Jeff.
Dude, I like you a lot, Steelborn, so like,
Yeah, you're good.
I'll
guy,
take the
Jeff.
compliment and shut the fuck up.
But
Because,
I gotta hop off here,
basically-
guys.
yeah, cool biz.
But
Thanks for
everybody
coming
have a
up,
great day.
Steelborn.
God bless.
You too, sir. So, like, fundamentally, like, what I'm trying to point towards is that, like, how would I even try to describe this? Like any, like, government official that's actively undermining your nation, you would
Yes.
then have to question, like, what is their intention and why are they undermining the nation? An example that, like, is really easy to come up with is Barack Obama. He was clearly a globalist.
But don't the state politicians matter too?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they'll be on the payroll.
Yep. It comes down to what you would consider to be treasonous. You know,
Yeah.
treasonous.
Agreed. There's if we were gonna go that route in the U.S., it would be bad. Not saying we shouldn't, but I mean, shit. I mean, the first
gotta
one
be-
that comes to mind is HC and BC, right?
You gotta be crazy to think that the deep state, to some extent, to say it doesn't exist is insane. But to think that they're still not running
I never
things
said it doesn't exist.
behind the scenes, I didn't say you did. I'm not saying you did, but it's. I'm telling you, everybody needs to read. Jason Chaffetz. It's not David Chaffetz. Jason Chaffetz. Is that his
But
name?
isn't it important though to like have the distinction of what the deep state is, because it's like such a weird gray area. Like everybody talks about it, but they can't define it, right? Now we
I
did.
don't know.
I'm not saying we
I think
didn't.
that, yeah.
I think we went over that pretty well. I'm just saying, like,
No,
as far as like,
honestly, I don't think Trump does a real good job of
I agree.
explaining it.
I agree.
to be honest with you, and I also think one of Trump's biggest weaknesses is trusting the wrong people, appointing. the
It's
wrong
wanting to be
people.
liked.
Mhm.
It's his biggest flaw is wanting to be liked by everybody.
Yeah,
But
Well-
I would make the
Which he
argument
ran
that
on the exact
that
opposite
is
of.
totally okay because of all the other pluses, right? I'm okay with
Well,
him
like-
wanting to be like, if he wants
Yeah.
to fix shit.
He wanted to be liked by Putin so bad. He made fun of little fella in North Korea, which was great. I think the world needed that, and it made him look great. It made him look massive, and then kind of flipped on a dime and just wanted to be loved by Putin. It was just such a.
I don't think he wants to be loved by Putin at all. I think it's part of his negotiating tactics. Do you want if you're gonna
You ever
try
call
and strike
Putin
a
Little
deal,
Rocket Man?
if you're gonna try and strike a deal with somebody that you know is quote bad or evil like Putin, wouldn't you think it'd be better to go in having that person think like that you like them to
I
an
thought he should have
extent?
done that with the Shah of fucking Iran then, rather than drop bombs on him.
I think that was kind of a different level though.
Both countries have nukes. Both are volatile.
Does any?
Iran didn't have nukes, not yet.
I had a weird high thought. Do we think I mean, this Iran situation could turn into like a Cold War. Is this like Cold War II?
No. Oh, no.
I don't think so. I mean,
No.
I
I get what you're saying, but not quite.
I think they're. I think they were close as far as enriched uranium. But
Well, I think
Oh, hell yeah, they were.
if the
Oh, they
Strait
were
of
hiding the
Hormuz
shit out
stayed
of that.
shut for like another 2 months, and then progressively stayed even more closed than it is at the moment, yeah, you'd actually have a really good point that you've got a bit of a Cold War, bit of an economical war going on. At the moment, there's definitely that kind of inference that you kind of be like, well, are we kind of looking at like a working towards a bit of a Cold War sort of thing? But I don't think the Strait will stay even as close as it is in the next month.
I mean, do you see where I could come to that conclusion though?
Absolutely, 100% I do. Yeah.
So a key thing for me is, right, it's something that I often kind of like I go back to and all this kind of shit, because if you're going to be philosophical, you have to be able to question every single belief in your head, right? To provide justification on all this kind of shit, right? If the 2020 election was actually rigged, which there is plenty of evidence to indicate that it was, how did Trump get back into office?
I think it was
20
kind of
million
the pension.
illegals.
Yeah. Well,
I think
yeah.
I think a big part of why Trump got back into office, to be honest with you, is more freedom of information. I honestly, I think
He ran on it, but he didn't really give it.
No, and I actually
No.
did a whole tinfoil hat stream where I went over all the fucking videos from
I mean what led up to it.
the UFA or whatever the fuck we call it now.
What I mean by that is like if Elon Musk hadn't purchased Twitter, that might have been enough to make the difference. Because
Oh, for sure, he saved freedom of speech by doing that.
It was a landslide. Because he won, quote landslide, because he won the popular and electoral. But that crazy bitch did still get what, almost 60 million votes.
Yeah, because of 20 million fucking illegals in the country. It was the border. The border was the biggest problem.
Are you saying that the illegals voted for Trump?
No. When he spoke about Kamala still getting a lot of votes.
I don't know. I would say
I
if I had
actually
to
think
guess,
they voted mostly for Trump.
if I had to guess, I would say, let's say there was 20 million illegals. I would say maybe 3 million actually voted.
Yeah, 3 million maybe voted 2 or 3 times. That's the thing. Like, You got illegals that are in the country. They can vote, go to a different election, vote again, go somewhere else, vote again. Like they're all illegal.
I think it was mostly besides like I think it was more of a freedom of information, and people starting to realize they can't trust CNN. It was lower trust in the mainstream media. People using like what you call it? Using information they got from independent journalists on YouTube, like Nick Shirley, people like that, and on X since Elon Musk purchased it. I think that had a big role in him winning.
Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of speaking from the outside in, me personally being able to see all the shit that would pop off in those ICE dominated states, being actually able to see what Antifa actually do, as opposed to how it was portrayed on mainstream news.
Oh yeah,
That
notice
was
how they're not talking about
incredibly eye opening for me.
and
Being
notice
so
how they're
far
not
away,
talking about Chicago, where people are
you don't
getting
hear
murdered
shit.
at super high rates, not related to ICE, but they only show the ICE videos. They don't show the statistics, South Chicago specifically. And what's their fucking governor doing about that?
You know what I'm getting at is right, like Trump, the 2020 election gets rigged, as in like these people like actively like all the way down from like the counters to the people getting elected, all this kind of shit. They were all in on it, right? And then they had the office for 4 years. And then they somehow managed, after being able to rig the 2020 election, after Trump doing all this wonderful shit and all this kind of stuff, somehow managed to lose the election in 2024.
I think a big part of that was it wasn't just the fraud in 2020. I think a big part of it was people that were brainwashed into thinking combination of fraud and people being brainwashed into thinking that somehow COVID was mishandled by Trump or that it was his fault.
I think it was the border. Genuinely, I think it's the border. You hear 20 to 30 million people illegally have entered your country. It's just a big no. You can't have that. And he ran on it, and he also ran on the Epstein files, which everyone objectively fell into that. Now, whether you've got what you wanted from that or not, yeah, maybe like there's an argument. Yes, you got half the files. You're still waiting on half, but you still got more than what Biden ever said he was, or Kamala even made any acknowledgement to releasing. That's two pretty big things. People want to know about pedos in the country, and they want the fucking border shut. Like that's how can you not vote for someone that's gonna promise you those two things, and he delivers on, you'd say, probably one and a half of those two things.
Well, I
I
kind of
think
don't think
Also,
he
just
gets.
real quick, shout out to Jack Blaze for the gifted one membership. He got EOD, my motherfucking man. Appreciate you, Connie Jack. We're up to $30 in the spin bank. But go ahead, Darth.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't think Trump gets enough credit for being like, the outro video you played where he was like a staunch Democrat, and versus now. I think that speaks to people in a way where I can change my mind based on evidence and truth.
He didn't want to run. He didn't need this. Like he so much money that he lost money by becoming president, by running for president. Everybody loved him. He lost his reputation to an extent,
Mhm.
But I think in 2020, part of it was Republicans didn't take advantage of the mail-in ballots, and I think that was on principle. In 2024, they learned a lesson like, all right, we need to get on this game because Democrats are going to do it. It's a thing, so we need to play the game too. But in 2020, you had a lot of people frustrated. They were suffering under because of all the lockdown bullshit, and people that probably wouldn't even voted had these Democratic representatives showing up at their door with ballots, talking them into here, just fill it out, we'll take it. It was that easy. So you had probably 20 million people that normally wouldn't even vote, and they did because somebody showed up, put a ballot in their face, said sign it, we'll give you a bag of chocolates, a handbag, which is basically buying votes. Then you had the ballot harvesting going into like nursing homes and people that can't even clean up the drool off their face. Basically filling out ballots for them, which was disgusting. But I don't think Trump winning in 2024 is evidence that there's still no deep state. You know what I mean? I think it may not be as strong as it was, but it's still there. I think it's always there.
Spin the wheel.
Okay, so in 2016, right? Trump got 62 million. We'll round up. Let's say 63 million. Hillary Clinton got 65, almost 66 million. Right? In 2020, Trump got 74 million votes, and Biden got 81 million. Apparently, right? And
Never
then
happened before in history.
One second. And then in the 2024 election, Trump got 77 million and Harris only got 75 million.
So they talk about landslide victory, right? And it like in the technical sense, it was winning all of the swing states.
Well, because
but
of the electoral college,
break it.
though. The popular vote doesn't really matter.
Still too close to
vote.
Me.
It's very close. And a lot of people kind of negate that. They say, yeah, landslide. He won all the swing states. He won this, he won that. Well, yeah, he did. And it's technically like in the term of a landslide, you've won every possible thing that you can win. But it was marginal.
Yeah.
All marginal.
Yep. It could have gone either way. And I knew a lot of people were like, "Oh, Trump's gonna win," and it's not even close. Don't worry about it. I'm like, that's foolish thinking. Don't think that way. Look at it as if it's the fourth quarter and we're 14 points down. Yeah, I was worried, especially when people like Nick Shirley were going to places like Philadelphia, and it was like 9 out of 10. Oh, I'm voting for Kamala. I'm like, wow, there's just so many stupid people out there, The fact
There's stupid people everywhere.
Yeah,
the internet has pointed out.
The fact that 75, and I thought it was like 60 something. So he shows how far off I was. The fact that 75 million people voted for that complete, utter moron. That literally, the only time she came out with something she said she was going to do different, she stole it directly from Trump. No tax on tips. The fact that they voted for her, that many people voted for her, that should scare any of us. But that being said, it's late or early, and I'm gonna step out.
Come on, Pseudo, you can do one more.
I'll do one more, and then that's it, man.
Spin that wheel.
Spin it! Wow!
Gentlemen, should non-citizens be allowed to vote in any local elections?
No, fuck no, hell no.
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
know
no, River.
how many ways I can say it. You should
Tareyak,
have fucking ID.
Tareyak, if you can actually devil's advocate this position,
Oh, God.
Tareyak, I'll fucking tip my hat to you because this
He's gonna
this
try.
is something I've tried. I cannot
He
think of
might try.
anything.
Yeah, it's batshit bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batshit bonkers, bro.
Yeah. There is no.
All right, that's my one more. I'm out, guys. All right.
I mean, shouldn't that
What
be a
if-
freebie since we agreed?
What if
I mean,
the illegals vote in favor of what you want?
Still doesn't matter.
no. Yeah.
You won't take the default win of what you and your country wants, irregardless of who votes for it.
Nope.
Yeah, because what I don't want democracy.
Would you protest it? That's the outcome of it. Yeah, I completely agree. But would you protest? Would you protest the win of what you wanted,
With
knowing
violence.
that illegals voted for
Yes.
it?
Force. Yes. I would protest it with force.
I don't care if illegals put Trump over the finish line. I still wouldn't support it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can come up with on the fly.
But that's why Dems were against. Remember, like any Cuban immigrants that come here by boat, just don't try it. We're gonna send you back. That's
Well, and
because
isn't that kind of what we're seeing in Minnesota too? Because it's like with the Moosies going in there, they fucking got there illegally and then was able to get into the local shit. And then we got Alon Amar, whatever the fuck her retarded name is, banging her brother.
No, she wasn't banging her brother. She just married him to.
Well, in order for a marriage to be official, you have to consummate, do you not?
Well, yeah, but they weren't. She just married him, so they, I forget. So was he here first, or
No,
did
she
she
was.
not-
And her parents are actually like the dictatorship that Somalia fucking overturned, which created a huge anarchy there.
So
The
she-
reason
she
why
married
the
her
Ilan
brother
Omar
together.
banging a brother thing is that it's like in order for it to be an official marriage, they must consummate.
Yep.
I doubt
She
they
banged
That's
did.
her
why
brother.
that's a meme.
Yeah,
Gross.
Well, if she
I doubt
didn't,
it.
then the marriage is illegal, and therefore his
Yeah.
immigration
You know what?
status, he should be kicked out, right? He should be deported.
Yeah.
I'd
So,
still bet
so
money.
the entailment
Still
is
bet money
they
on it.
did.
And also, wouldn't that be treason on
No,
her
no,
end
no. No, the key thing is
as a
to get her
government
to get her to answer that question. Because no matter
Yeah,
what
she
way she
won't.
answered that question, she either banged her brother or she didn't, to which she should be deported.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's not going to be.
She's
deported.
fucked or she's fucked.
They're not going to deport her.
Which
I
way?
guarantee it. I guarantee it. She's not going to be deported. James Comey ain't going to jail. Obama ain't going to jail. I'm telling you. Fauci ain't going to jail. I just lost faith in any of these people being held accountable.
Well, would that be the deep state then? To go back to the last one, right?
Yeah, maybe to an extent.
I don't know if you guys like this is the weird thing. I think I keep more up to date with American politics than actual Americans.
You 100%
Eileen
do.
Wang, which is a great name, the Democrat mayor of Acadia, California, has pleaded guilty to acting as a foreign agent on behalf of China. How do we feel about this, boys?
Is it a surprise? Like, I see the image.
Yep.
TikTok
Pleaded
sleeper
guilty.
cell.
She'll probably get 6
My
months
eyes work.
house arrest.
Hers don't.
No, but I'm saying to like Pseudo, because Pseudo's like, I'm losing faith, like none of this is ever going to get solved and all this kind of shit. This is like another victory for Trump.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. But like, to be fair, I never heard of her. Where are the people that were responsible for RussiaGate, to Trump Russia collusion hoax, like Fauci with all his lies to push?
Well, hold on.
vaccine-
Isn't it kind of interesting that Trump's not weaponizing the department, or the DOJ I don't know what we call it anymore. He keeps changing the names. But he's not weaponizing it the way it was weaponized against him. Right?
Yeah,
Which everybody was so fucking scared about.
exactly. But they call him a king. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
I kind of
I
wish he
just
would
don't
have
see
done it a
any of these
little bit,
people.
but maybe he is on that. Like what
I
you're
just don't
talking
see
about,
these people
Tareyak.
getting held accountable. I don't see it. I will believe it when I see them in handcuffs being marched into jail with a jumpsuit on, and I just I don't see it. I think it's better to look at things that way, and if it happens, I'll be even more ecstatic about it. All right, let's spin it. Do one more because I gotta get out of here. I gotta get some.
We
I gotta get some
we
sleep.
need $10 to spin it, but also in terms, remember the Steele dossier?
Mm-hmm.
That was a former MI6 officer, head of the Russia Dex, who co-founded the business intelligence in London, aka City of London. He compiled a
Spin it, bro.
controversial Steele dossier. So the reason why he's not able to go after the dudes that were behind the Russiagate hoax is because they're British.
Well,
But
and Tareyak, you got steel balls for having the C word on screen.
yeah, but
That doesn't work out well for most people.
what about Clinton? Right?
Well, that's what I was avoiding saying. That's the C word.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
cunt. I have no
she-
problem saying cunt.
Clinton
Doesn't sound
Clinton
natural though.
illegally
That's because I'm American. I can't help it.
took
Yeah, you
campaign
can.
finance money, funneled it through Perkins Coie, a law firm, to pay for that Steele dossier. Then you had Comey, with all the crap that he did. He lied under oath to Congress about not saying he didn't leak information to journalists. I mean, Fauci, they got the emails that prove he was guilty, right? He knew it came from the lab leak. He knew that that drug remdesivir was
Well,
had
have you seen the shit about RFK talking about like how it was racially targeted, like how they used CRISPR to like the statistics on that are fucky. I mean, I don't know. I just saw it, so I'm not claiming anything, but I did find that interesting. Like it was the beginnings of genetically modified like viruses.
yeah,
And of course, there's no proof to that because that would fall into the deep state, right?
but what they could prove is that Fauci had
But
emails
RFK is
from
talking about it.
his own associates, emails from his own associates that said, "Hey, we know this started from a lab leak. Hey, we know drugs like hydroxychloroquine.
Ivermectin.
What was the other one?
Mm.
The ivermectin. We know that these
Yeah,
are
yeah.
successful treatment. He shot it all down, right? So they could get a vaccine because the only way to use the emergency use authorization
And that was
act.
genetically modified too, using CRISPR. Like,
Well, the whole remdesivir thing was the worst because if you went on the NIH on their actual website and it's still there, he made a statement to the public. He said, "Well, we're using remdesivir because it showed so much promise in treating Ebola during the trials in Africa. Success, right? If you look at the NIH website, it shows that 60% of the people they gave remdesivir to during those trials, Ebola trials, not that Ebola has anything to do with COVID or is related in any way, 60% of the people they gave it to died of acute kidney failure. Now, what were all these morticians reporting when they had all these so-called COVID victims?
oh, it was always
Coming in?
extra shit. Yeah.
It
It
was
wasn't
they were filled
specifically COVID.
they were filled with fluid, which is a sign of acute kidney failure. So it was mostly remdesivir and intubation that was
Yeah, it
responsible.
was everything other than the thing they were trying to prove.
But hey,
Which shows the delusion of how the left tries to say, "Oh, well, science." It's like, well, science. You're not using science.
all right,
If you were
guys, I'm
using
out.
science, you would be transparent, right?
Yep.
Not
I'm
you
out, guys.
Have a good one,
specifically.
Pseudo. Appreciate you joining.
Yep. Thanks
Catch
for having me.
Peace
Pseudo.
out, Pseudo.
You guys have a good one.
But isn't that kind of fucky how, like, there's, like, all this quote unquote evidence, but when you look into it, as far as, like, the 19 thing, I know that Florida is TOS. But yeah, it was after the autopsies, which who knows how many autopsies they actually did. Ended up being pretty fucky. I'm gonna shut the fuck up now.
Yeah, so like I was saying, in terms of the whole like Steele dossier and all this kind of shit, then you had the whole COVID thing and all this kind of shit. Like, to think that like the elections are free and fair and all this kind of shit, to me is naive.
Mhm.
So what are you saying, Tareyak?
I think it's a rigged system.
I think it's been
'Cause, like,
proven that it's a rigged system. I agree with you, Tareyak.
But then when we go back to it, if it is a rigged system, how the fuck did Donald Trump get back in office?
Exactly.
20
it can't be
million
rigged, right?
illegals. That's been the difference.
He
I
took
see
the
nothing
popular vote
else.
too.
Not necessarily, actually.
And like what I was saying before, like he, in the terms of like a slaughter in terms of winning, yes, it was across the board, but it was marginal slaughter. Like all of those votes could have gone either way. He could have lost every single one of the, well, not every single, but he could have lost, one swing state, and still won.
Doesn't
they
that come
still
back?
would've-
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Doesn't that come back to the deep state, though?
Oh, I don't know. What is the deep state? That's the thing. Like, I don't even know what that is.
But doesn't it kind of beg the question?
No, well, maybe, but I've never put thought into the deep state because I just like how can you
No, I
logically
understand.
prove the deep
It's
state?
fucking
That's the thing
complicated.
that
I'm
confuses me.
not making a claim. I'm just asking questions.
Oh, okay, Candace. Sorry, man.
I mean,
I don't know. What is that? That's the thing. Like, I mean, yeah, that's very good. It's. I just, for 10 years I've tried to get my head around the deep state, and I still can't get past trying to define what it even is, who it could even be. Like, what, BlackRock? What does that make? Why? Because they did this thing once that George Bush had to do with at one point. Like, what that make? I don't get it. No, that doesn't make them the deep state. No. Is it deeper than that? Or is it not as deep as I'm trying to make it out to think that it is as deep
that's
as?
exactly what
It's just
why
a
it needs to
conundrum,
be
dude.
defined, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, if there was election interference, and also, like, I noticed, this is just my opinion, but most Americans don't pay attention to their local elections and shit, and then they give a fuck about, like, this huge federal shit. But really, as Americans, you should care about your local elections.
100%.
Right? The shit that affects
same
you.
goes anywhere. Same goes anywhere. You need to care. Your local should be your, like, It's the same with me as well. My local election to me is much more important than any federal or state election. Look, federal probably has a little bit more for me,
Well,
but absolutely, your local elections are the most important. They
wasn't
are
it one
your
of the
constituent.
wasn't it one of the founding fathers of America that they like kind of described federal government versus state government, and they're like, well, federal government shouldn't affect your daily life. It's for the defense of the country and
Pretty
just
much, yeah.
like an overseer, sort of, kind of. But yet, but yet everybody fucking stopped voting in local elections, and so there's not like people who vote for their town mayors. At least not where I am. I mean,
Hmm.
there are people, right? But not as many people that give a shit about talking about Orange Man is bad.
It's easy to talk about Orange Man bad.
Hmm.
It's just easier to do that, or Kamala Harris bad, or anything,
Or
because
just, yeah,
your
insert name,
local
yeah.
constituents aren't on TV. You actually have to go and listen to them. You have to take time out of your day, more than 30 seconds on a reel on Instagram or something like that.
Which I think Joe Rogan kind of gets a bad ad for having all the candidates on, but it's like, no, we want to hear them talk for 3 hours.
He opened it up to everybody. It
Hmm.
wasn't just the conservative side. He opened it all up, and none of them wanted. But the
Yeah,
thing
he's
is, like, could you
liberal.
picture
He talks
Tim
about that.
Walz
Yeah.
sitting for 2.5 hours trying to talk to him? It would be a genuine shit show. Like back at that time, like he had Trump and JD on, and then you just think like a lot of Joe Rogan's audience has probably shifted a little bit, and that probably shows in terms of like the views that he's starting to get now.
For
Which,
sure.
yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. But could you just try and picture him sitting there trying to talk?
I don't even.
Like just
I would go
with
as far
Tim
to say.
Walz.
I would go as far
Horrible.
as to say I don't think he's an influencer, because like he's very vocal on like, no, I just let you talk, right?
The fact
Who,
that he
Rogan?
was able to actually
Mm-hmm.
influence Trump with the Ibogaine thing kind of gives him the influencer status. Because it was I'm not
Yeah.
making an argument that it's not necessary.
No, I know what you
Ibogaine's
mean.
100% necessary.
Well, that's
like,
retard supremacy. We just write them off.
you go, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're right. But I think that kind of gives him that influencer status, because I mean, is anyone else out there saying that these vets need this to actually save their fucking lives and get them off these fucking pills that just ruin their lives and send them to homelessness?
100%. And
no one else is ever saying it.
I actually went through this. Not trying to plug myself, but I did a 420, like I'm a cannabis pro thing on my channel. But I was going through like with that bill, the executive order that Trump did for opening up research. But I also really wanted to talk about, at the time, the rescheduling of cannabis. But Trump actually fucking closed the loophole on cannabis that he really fucked up. And I don't think that's getting enough credit, because these huge fucking corporations are fucking up the cannabis industry. But again, that's what I talk about on my shit.
Well, how are they fucking it up?
This is what I'm trying to say. I like there's either two things that go on when I try to broach this topic. Either people cannot like view the big picture; they're just incapable of like holding like these key things together for like a coherent view, or and like this is probably like more worrying, that it's like a self-defense mechanism where they just don't want to look at it. They see it, but they don't want to actually admit it, or they don't want to actually deal with it. Because what I keep pointing out is that if these elections are rigged, it's just like they basically choose the winner or whatever way they do it and all this kind of shit, and then they just filter in the votes to make it look like it's real and all this kind of shit. Then we're confronted with a more worrying question of, okay, if it was rigged in 2020, that's the proof that it was rigged. Because again, there's plenty of stuff like the whole COVID thing, bullshit, complete bullshit. The Russiagate thing, complete bullshit. All the stuff that they've been feeding us, complete bullshit, right? But then how did Trump get back into the office if it actually is rigged? Now, that's one thing to try and like confront and all this kind of stuff. Another thing isn't to go back to the whole deep state thing. And again, I put out the videos and everything, right? But this, if you want to understand like what the actual deep state is, you need to go back to 1945.
Something that was kind of weird to me, man. I'm not gonna lie. And then you guys both kind of contradicted your statements after this. So I'll get into that after I ask this question. So you said that the United States has been a police state for 70 years. Can you please demonstrate how that?
National.
I just want to be clear. I am not a Nazi.
I think we covered it.
Socialist. So 1945, after the war, Operation Paperclip, they basically the Soviets and America split the scientists. So all the Nazi technology, not just the physicists, but like the behavioral scientists and all this kind of shit. So when you look at like all the shit that went on in America, basically MK Ultra, all the shit, they just continued on the research that they were doing in the concentration camps, and even worse, they done it on kids. And in MK Ultra specifically, it was unwilling, unconsensual testing that like they were giving them like fucking LSD shit and all the stuff. That's why you're seeing the whole radicalized shit that went down in Hollywood, Charlie Manson. Follow on from that, in 1947, after they finished importing in all the I don't know if I can use the word, but Yahtzee scientists and the intellect and all the shit, essentially the National Securities Act gets passed, which, funnily enough, changes the Department of War to the Department of Defense. A nice little propaganda switch there, which should tell you exactly who you're dealing with. And then, like I said, in terms of the National Security Agency, CIA, the whole basically mechanism for the deep, what Alex Jones has highlighted as the deep state, that basically gets formulated in 1947. And since then, you've basically been ruled by a national socialist policy, because even as a modern day national socialist, if I was a Yahtzee, America's the perfect government, because all I have to do is, as soon as it gets down to the two final candidates, I buy them both off. And I have my nationalist policies if I want the Republican in, and I have my socialist policies if I want my Democrat in.
This looks a lot like Nazi shit, and we really should find out where the Horton brothers are.
Now, you will go, oh, but Tareyak, like, why would the Americans, import in all the Nazis and then let them develop your whole, like, was it secret ops or whatever the fuck, like the whole CIA and all this kind of shit gets formulated in 1947 after they've imported in all these Nazis. No Americans agreed to the Operation Paperclip. No Americans agreed to this whole CIA deep state shit. No Americans agreed to MK Ultra and all this stuff that was going on, right? Anybody saying, but Tareyak, like, why would America do this and all this kind of stuff? Look into these UFO files, right? Attach 7 copies of a translation of this German material prepared in cryptanalyst translation section. I'm still going through this, by the way, but it's a reference letter from Cincinnati office dated submitting an anonymous letter in German concerning so-called flying saucers. So the German clearly had superior technology. So you're kind of saying maybe they cracked the deal where the intelligentsia or the higher ups in the Nazi regime were like, okay, Hitler's lost his fucking mind. He's cracked out on meth all the time. We're basically going to abandon ship and go into America and try to start the Fourth Reich from that aspect. And then we get to this key question here.
Now, here's the problem. If we got our uranium from them, and by the way, he also makes the argument that the engineering of the plutonium bomb was completed with Nazi assistance. Okay. So if we got our, uranium and additional technical expertise for completing our nuclear weapons from the Nazis, and if there are 2 reports of Nazi successful nuclear tests in 44 and 45, why weren't these weapons used by the Nazis?
It's a great question. Why?
But there are a couple of different answers, and they're both really disturbing.
Okay.
Let me start. I don't know which one is more disturbing. Okay, okay. So if Ronald Richter is working on fusion in Argentina, in 1950.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible? And the Nazis had, let's say, they've developed this bell that involves electromagnetic torsion of thorium
Yeah.
and some kind of a plasma fusion that takes place inside of this device.
Mm.
Is it possible the Nazis figured out some other kind of nuclear reaction, weaponizable nuclear reaction, besides fission? And is that related to why Ronald Richter was promising fusion bombs to Juan Perón, which he never delivered?
Interesting. I didn't know he was promising fusion
Yeah, he was
bombs.
promising nuclear weapons to, and this is why the IAEA went down there.
Fusion bombs. No.
Well, okay, he's working on fusion, and he's promising nuclear bombs to Perón. So we may assume from those two data points that he's promising fusion bombs. Now, we only developed fusion bombs.
And hydrogen bombs are fusion bombs. Right?
Exactly. But here's the interesting thing, is that we developed hydrogen fusion bombs in the 50s. And this is 1950. Ronald Richter's down there. So it's relatively the same ballpark time frame.
Yeah,
okay?
Edward Teller and Ulam, that design was 52.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Our hydrogen bombs use a fission trigger to create a fusion reaction. What if the Nazis figured out how to create a fusion reaction without a fission trigger? It would be extremely useful because the radioactivity of a nuclear explosion comes from the fission trigger. The neutron bombardment that, well, first of all, immediately disrupts like a whole, our whole organism, and then also irradiates all the fallout that comes down on people. That neutron bombardment is from the fission reaction, not from the fusion. So if you could create a fusion reaction without a fission trigger, you'd have a clean nuclear bomb. An extremely high explosive force, but no radioactivity. So your troops could move into that area and occupy it immediately.
Really? There'd be no radioactivity.
No radioactivity. It's the opposite of a neutron bomb. So a neutron bomb is engineered to maximize neutron bombardment. This is an aneutronic fusion bomb. If the Nazis developed that in 1944 to 45, atom bombs would be like matches for them. It's child's play. So they would be willing to trade that for something else, like maybe the, mass assimilation and, amnesty for Nazi scientists, like maybe incorporation of their entire SS spy network in Eastern Europe into the CIA. Like perhaps the transfer of a huge amount of funds, wartime loot to Argentina and other places, that they made a deal and gave the matches to the Americans. They kept the fusion bombs for themselves.
So you don't think they'd just vaporize large swaths of American territory and try to win?
Now this comes to the second reason, okay? Which is even more disturbing.
Okay.
All right. And I almost apologize for how disturbing this is.
No.
Okay? But people need to really think about this because I think we're still inside this spider's web, and it's responsible for a lot of the deception, misdirection around the disclosure conversation today.
Okay.
So you have to take seriously this claim on the part of the Nazi leadership that they wanted 1,000-year Reich. Okay? 1,000-year imperium is no joke. Americans have a very hard time with this because this country was born yesterday in historical terms, okay? There are other people who are capable of grasping this more effectively. Let me give you an example, and trust me, it's worth setting it up like this.
And for context for the audience, real quick, Third Reich is called that because I believe it was the Roman Empire, then the Holy Roman Empire, and they were supposed to be the third instantiation.
Yeah. So they want this 1,000-year Reich. Okay, well, who thinks like that? In Iran, there was a dynasty that's often misnamed the Second Persian Empire. Actually, they weren't Persians, they were Scythians, the Parthian Empire of Iran. Okay, it lasted for 400 years. The Parthian Empire of Iran was the principal rival of Rome. So the two superpowers in the world at that time were the Roman Empire and the Parthian Empire of Iran. And at that time, the country was called Aryana Khashatra. Aryan Imperium. That was the official name of the Parthian government, was Aryan Imperium. And then Aryana gets shortened to Iran in Middle Persian. So these Parthians ruled Iran and successfully fought the Romans, usually to a stalemate, for 400 years. Then they get overthrown in a coup by these guys called the Sassanids, the Sassanid Persians, and they establish their own empire. But the Parthian elite continue to be the backbone of the Sassanid state. The feudal houses, the Parthian feudal houses, serve the Sassanid state and protect it the way, like in Game of Thrones, you have all the main houses in Game of Thrones, and they're like serving, what's that place? You know, the capital, whatever it is, right?
Oh,
in Game of Thrones, what is that place? I forget. Anyway, the Lannisters are there, and like all the other feudal houses are serving them, right?
Yes, yeah.
So get this. The Parthians rule Iran for 400 years directly.
Yeah.
They continue to rule Iran secretly for another 400 years under the Sassanids. They're the backbone of the Sassanid state. In the end, the conflict, make a very long story short, the conflict they had with the Sassanids results in the collapse of Iran to Islam. The state security of Iran and the conquest of the Persian Empire by the Arab Muslim armies was on account of basically the tension between the Sassanids and these feudal lords. So Iran then is subsumed by Islam for a couple hundred years. Round about 850, 900, an Iranian Renaissance begins, which is misnamed often the Islamic Golden Age. 90% of the people who contributed to it in the arts and sciences were Iranians. Anyway, the Parthians are also the patrons of this. So they become like the Medicis. They become the patrons of an Iranian Renaissance for another 300 years, between 900 and 1100. So these people ruled Iran directly for 400 years, ruled Iran indirectly for another 400 years, 800 years. And then for another 300 years, they patroned an Iranian Renaissance, 1100 years. For over 1,000 years, these feudal families had a coherent political vision. That's how you need to think when you want a 1,000-year Reich. Okay? So if the Nazis in the modern world want to set up a 1,000-year imperium, it's going to require a little bit of preparation. Investing a century in psychological warfare and social engineering to set up your 1,000-year Reich is not at all an unreasonable investment. And so my hypothesis is that from 1945 until 2045, we are in a period of preparation involving horrendous psychological warfare and social engineering by a deeply entrenched fascist elite. Let's not call them Nazis anymore because they're really not nationalists. A deeply entrenched fascist elite that controls the American deep state. So that's the second answer to why did they not win the war? No, they won the war. It's just you have to rethink what the war is. The war is a Weltanschauungskrieg. It's a worldview war. And that doesn't mean what Americans think it does. So like when we went into Germany in 1945, the American military went in there, they translated Weltanschauungskrieg into psychological warfare. And then later it became, the battle for hearts and minds, right? Psychological operations, psyops, or psychological warfare. That's not what Weltanschauungskrieg means. It means a war over the constitution of the world from out of human consciousness on a social level. And it goes back to German thinkers like Friedrich Schelling, and also ultimately Nietzsche, definitely Nietzsche's idea of perspectival conflict, that there's no unified God's eye perspective on the world. There is, of course, God is dead, right? I mean, Nietzsche is the ultimate deconstructor of a theistic, monistic ontology. So there's no God to have a perspective on the whole world. And there's nothing like a God's eye perspective, even in science. And science is always conditioned by culture and by politics. So ontologically, the world is pluralistic. I think William James also made this point. He wrote a whole book called A Pluralistic Universe, which if you look at the ontology of William James's radical empiricism in his book, A Pluralistic Universe, it almost completely maps onto Nietzsche's perspectival ontology. And I compared the two explicitly in Prometheus and Atlas. So you have this conflict of perspectives that brings about the constitution of what we consider to be the world. Heidegger, beginning in Being and Time and going into his writings on technology, he calls this the worldhood of the world. What makes a world of meaning for any people is not the same as how the warp and weft of meaning is brought together by another people. So there is a conflict of worlds over the earth. Different worlds constituted by, let's say, what Jung might call the collective unconscious of a particular people. And by the way, this is a point that's often, I don't know whether it's overlooked or whether it's deliberately distorted in readings of Jung, is that Jung did not believe in a single collective unconscious. Jung believed in a racially differentiated collective unconscious. And he's getting that idea from Hegel. And Hegel's philosophy of mind, Hegel talks about the spirit of different races and how the spirit of different, it sounds crazy, but Hegel even thinks that the spirit of different races can shape the world geologically. In any case, I don't know that Jung would certainly take it that far, but Jung kind of got that idea from him and he developed it to where, like, for example, he's predicted that the spirit of Wotan would erupt from out of the collective unconscious of the German people. And it did, right? In the form of the rise of the Nazis in the Second World War. So Heidegger is saying that there's a war, and very much lines up again with Nietzsche, there's a war of different worlds over the earth. So World War II is not what we think it is. First of all the deep Nazi thinkers did not see any difference between World War I and World War II. If you read, for example, Carl Schmitt, you see this. You read Heidegger, you see this. They say it's just the World War. And the World War, the Great War, never ended for us. The Treaty of Versailles was imposed on them. You know, they considered themselves to be like in a perpetual state of war for the world. And so you have to understand the term World War in a different way. It's a Weltanschauungskrieg. It's a war over the way that the world is going to show itself, is going to come into presence, is going to manifest. It's a certain understanding of what I've called in my writings phenomenal authorization, where I've drawn a connection between three different ideas: authorship, authority, and authorization, and tried to explain how phenomena are authored and authorized in how they can take shape, and that's the most fundamental form of sovereignty, that real authority is not like the authority of a civilian government that's elected or some bureaucracy. It's who has the authority to shape phenomena into a meaningful world at a fundamental level. And the people who developed what Otto Skorzeny was the master of in Germany, namely Weltanschauungskrieg, they understood this. So it's not bizarre for these people to engage in a century of social engineering to set up then what they expect would be a 1,000-year imperium. If they had dropped whatever few nuclear weapons they had in 1944 on American cities, I can tell you exactly what the result would have been. Total war against the German people on the part of America. At the same time as they're still fighting the Soviet Union, right, who actually was the principal enemy of Nazi Germany, or responsible for most of the deaths in Europe, the Soviets are really the ones who defeated the Germans, to be honest, okay? And so they've got Stalin coming at them from one direction. Now they're dropping nukes on their fellow Germanic, fellow European Americans. Now they're going to get the Americans, interested in total war to annihilate them. Americans were also developing nuclear weapons. Best case scenario, I guarantee you, Jesse, they would not have ruled the world for more than 2 generations. Even if they had succeeded in militarily defeating America, there would have been a massive insurgency against them, the amount of arms that Americans possess personally, right? And then the amount of communist revolutionary fervor in Europe being backed by the Soviet Union, they would have faced a massive insurgency.
But is the implication that there's some sort of Nazi sleeper cell undergirding American politics today, or
fascist is a better way to put it?
Fascist,
because again, and now here's another point. The neo-Nazis hate this. These people aren't nationalists. So Nazi is a misnomer. Martin Bormann is not a nationalist. Otto Skorzeny is not a nationalist. These people first of all, to begin with, they weren't nationalists. They were looking for a kind of global imperium. Okay, they used nationalism and they used crass populism to create a power base for themselves. But you can see from how they're operating, especially after the war, from 45 onward, that they're very much internationalists. They have a global vision. So, but they're
So this is the whole like globalist that Trump's fighting against, all this kind of shit, which brings us to the one and only Mr. Charlie Kirk when he gave this speech. And this is why he was shot.
Because you know you are part of something bigger than yourself. You know that you are part of the most exciting, diverse, powerful movement in the history of this country. And this movement is not about Republican or Democrat. This movement is not about conservative or liberal. And I think you're going to see that on display in a little bit. Just maybe. This movement is about the citizens versus the oligarchs. This movement is about we the people versus the ruling class. This movement is about America versus the globalists. This movement is about all of us against them.
So if you want to understand the deep state, look that back a couple of times because, like I said, boys, that's basically
what was
the
that
war.
podcast?
That was Jason Rezorjani on, what's the thing called? Jesse Michaels.
Gotcha.
But we the people is a huge fucking point.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We have a retard problem.
Yep. We also have a raccoon problem, but I mean, that's what we have exterminators for.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're going against people who will literally like infiltrate nationalists and all this kind of stuff just to try and subvert it. This is why, for example, you have like Nick Fuentes all of a sudden saying, you know what, I'm not happy with Trump. I think Trump works for Israel and all this kind of bollocks.
Look, I kind of see Fuentes' issue. I don't agree with it, but I see his problem. I understand his issue.
I'm guilty of not paying it. I don't pay attention to him. Like, I give a fuck less about these, like, big media people.
Well, he's not big media. That's the thing. That's why I do pay a little bit of attention to him.
I pay a little as well, but not enough.
He had a really good interview with Stephen Crowder, actually, just the other day. It was really, really good. That's definitely one worth watching. Crowder pushes back on quite a few points, particularly going. Fuentes says things, and obviously he's incredibly influential with a lot of the stuff he says. And right now, it seems like he really is increasing accelerationism, which is it's an incredibly scary thing, like in terms of where the US has just got to in terms of, you know, going back to like the free speech stuff we were talking about earlier. That can, especially with what Fuentes is saying, you know, punish the Republicans in the short term in hope of a long-term gain. Like, how much hope? It's putting so much hope into such a massive thing that can also just flip on a dime, and you've got possible 12 years of democratic rule. Like, we've seen what 4 years of Biden did to the country. And to try and punish Republicans for voting the way they did and Trump going the way he has, he's too influential to be saying those sorts of things. It was a really good interview with Crowder. It's definitely one that I took a lot from. And I don't know. I think he's too influential to be saying that sort of stuff. Really too influential. With the following he has, it doesn't end well. And yeah.
Well, can I say, as far as the Charlie Kirk thing, I feel a huge. I'm still not over it. In a way where, like, I just feel a huge loss for America. Like, I mean, I don't think he could have had political aspirations and whatnot.
I think he did.
I still can't, to this day, put my finger on why I feel that huge of a loss. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved his
I think he was,
that,
you know, probably around our age, which makes it very relatable. You know, for me, you know, he's with kids, wife, all of that sort of stuff. I think just being around our age and being actually able to visually see it, as opposed to every other, you know, sort of political assassination. You go to what JFK, the vision's grainy. You're not able to, we weren't even alive to begin with. Any kind of vision's kind of grainy, and just being able to be so ingrained in the actual assassination itself, I think it really hits home a lot more for people our age, for sure.
Did you actually see the video, Darth?
No.
Horrible.
I had somebody at my work like put it in my face because like it happened like right when I got to work, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Because the person who did it was like, "Yeah, this is what happens when you fuck around and say fucked up shit," and just like put her phone in my face, and I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" And I mean, so yeah, the video is in my face, but I purposely looked away. I have an extremely weak stomach to gore.
Yep.
Like real life gore. I'm a huge horror movie fan, but yeah, real life. Yeah. Yeah. So I knew to look away. Like I had context clues.
Yeah, I was actually more enthralled with it, actually. And as weird as that sounds, but later on, if I see it come up on like a reel or something, I scroll straight past it. I've seen it enough times now that I don't need to keep seeing it.
Well, that can have a bad effect on someone too, I guess is my
100%.
point. Yeah.
But I will say though, I did shield myself from the actual footage because like instantly there was horrific footage, right? And then it kind of got scrubbed. My first thought was, were his kids there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Missing the point again, gentlemen. Bono. Bono. This is why I keep saying. You know what I mean? Like I keep trying to point you to like the problem, but I don't know if it's a self-defense mechanism that goes on. We also got another guest backstage that we introduced.
We bring in the studio this morning one of the gay rights activists, Mr. Should I call you Mr.?
Mr. Vintage, welcome to the show.
What's happening, guys?
Well, I don't know if it's what like Johnny was talking about.
I actually looked the deep state term up. It originated in Turkey. I wonder why. I know what you're saying. I'm not putting up a self-defense. I don't want to accept it. But anyway, I'll shut up.
No, but what I'm talking about, I don't know if it's like the actual like psychological warfare or like that, like the social engineering kind of like aspect to it. But with the Charlie Kirk thing, my point of like bringing that up is like, what was Charlie talking about in that speech? It's us versus the globalists. What was Giorgiani talking about in the thing? Like, these are fascist globalists that will operate over like the span of thousands or like hundreds of years.
Yeah, he got too big, and he was going to be a real threat, and they had to do something about it.
They would have got him into office. Somebody would have talked him into it. Charlie,
yeah, I honestly believe if he wasn't assassinated, that at some time in the future. I don't know how long it would have taken, but one day he would have been in the White House.
Yep.
I think so
I
as
think
well.
so.
I have no doubt of that at all.
Even though
I
he
think
said
so.
he had no aspirations for political office.
That's why he's the best candidate.
So
I
is
think the
Tucker
American
the
people
next
could
best
have convinced him
candidate?
otherwise.
Yeah.
You know what?
Is Tucker the next best?
Fuck no.
Who?
Tucker Carlson?
Why?
Who? Really?
No.
Yeah.
The
why?
traitor?
No.
What is he going to be president of like Saudi Arabia or something? That's about the only political office he'll get.
Why would you say that?
Isn't he over there? Was it Saudi Arabia or UAE? One of those. He's like, yeah. Oh, there was a thing about it. Apparently, he was getting paid, and he's flipped and gone fucking mental from what I've seen. Like, I just don't understand. He's kind of like Candace Owens in a well, not that's not a 1-to-1, but he's kind of drifting off, and he's losing a lot of support.
Tucker had the spotlight for a long time. For some reason, he's losing it. I mean, he had the spotlight. If he said it was gospel.
Yeah, he's whether it's true or not, and I don't know 100%, of course, but you know, the popular theory and the I guess public belief is that he's gone turncoat. That he doesn't actually. He's no longer gives a crap about America, and he's just like a puppet.
Yeah, I quit watching him. I was like watching him religious there for a while. I have literally quit watching him.
Yeah, I saw a channel a while ago. They did like it was like a Tekken style thing. It was like it was like you can't cuck the tuck, and it was basically him like when he was on Fox and he had his own show and he was like just smashing people, and there was like a health bar. It was like a video game style, and just the people that he would talk to are just like absolutely beyond the pale insane. And he got popular because it's like you're actually bringing these people on and exposing what's happening. Now he seems to be somewhat defending things that just seem really off the pale, and he's gone a bit conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I think that's what's getting him a little bit, the conspiracy stuff.
Yeah, but
would you say Fuentes is the same in that style?
No, I actually think I have a bit of a strange theory on Fuentes, and I haven't heard anyone else say it. So I'll throw it out there. Is that I think because I saw a video recently where he was like, "Oh, you know, you either shouldn't vote, and if you're going to vote, then vote for the Democrats." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." So I have this theory that he's thinking, "Let's just flip the chessboard. Like, if you really want anarchy, let's go." Yes. And then, you know, let's just accelerate the pain. You know, we know it's coming. People aren't obviously learning, and they'll vote in the Democrats. They'll win the midterms. Whether or not they win in 2028, I still don't know. I think it's a bit of a coin flip at this stage. But he's just like, you know what? Rather than try and fight out this long-winded battle, just give them the power, and then they'll expose themselves, and there'll just be a revolt and maybe even a civil war. And Fuentes seems, whether he actually genuinely believes that or not, that seems to be the tact he's going down.
What does that get you? Views. You get your name talked about. You get you mentioned.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I mean, well, that's a byproduct, and you know, it's a convenient.
Oh yeah.
It's a convenient, positive thing for him. But I actually genuinely think he wants to just let the whole thing burn down, because I think he's come to the conclusion that this system can't be fixed. So rather than trying to get people to see the light and, you know, pull their head in and think logically, he's just like, you know what, you're not going to logic these people out of an illogical position, so just let them go.
Well, our friend Tareyak here has come up with a pretty good possible update, maybe. Put it that way. What did you call it?
Impossible crazy. No matter how many times I tried to say it, I tried to point it off, it just evolves, or it's like, you know, you're a whack job and all this kind of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you give someone a label enough times, they'll start believing it. It's like people calling Donald Trump a fascist. How many times have been called a fascist? What, at least like 400,000 times? Now you have people all over the world, not just in the United States. When you hear the word Donald Trump, they go, "Oh, that fascist." and they know nothing about Trump. They could be in freaking the UK, they could be in New Zealand, they could be wherever. It doesn't matter where they are in the world. You could go and find like some random ass island, you know, and they'll be like, "Have you heard of Donald Trump?" "Oh yeah, that fascist." They don't know who he is. They probably wouldn't even know what he looked like, you know. But oh well, I've heard 400,000 times.
When is your debate, Tareyak? I don't want to change the subject. When is that debate?
19th. And I'm like I said, like at this stage, I'm praying that I get shot over like this thing, because at this stage it's like fuck it.
Hey Ben, did you enjoy the song I made yesterday?
What is the one counter to what I keep pointing, like what does Trump keep like warning, like the globalists and all this kind of shit? What was Charlie saying in that video? The globalists, that like Charlie was literally going to unite the Republicans and the Democrats based on the nation. Because what's the one thing that the globalists would want to do? Remove America's sovereignty.
Yeah,
and what happened to both Charlie Kirk and Trump? Assassination attempts. The only thing is that Donald Trump, being a former president and then was president again, he had a ring of steel around him. If Charlie Kirk wouldn't even wear.
I get all that.
If he was wearing a vest.
I get all that. Yeah. But listen, let's tie back to Nick Fuentes. Bono, who benefits? Why would you want to undermine Trump?
It's either to burn it down or a financial.
Let's just take it. Let's just take it in terms of burning it down, or just take it like he's bought off, and this is the message that's been pumped into his head.
Yeah.
He's just a puppet on a string.
I think it's more financial, a puppet on a string.
I actually think it's
if
just
he
more
is a puppet on a string, the people that's telling him or convincing him to say that shit, they want to push this thing where Trump doesn't get to fight back and actually make sure that America stays sovereign.
Yeah,
and that would be a deep state doing that, right?
Now here's the unpleasant thing that a lot of people like haven't clicked or realized, is that the only political philosophy that's going to prevent the globalist takeover, that like those people that like Giorgiani was talking about, is National Socialism.
Yeah, protect us first. Take care of us first. Above all.
Which is what Fuentes lives by.
Yeah.
He lives by Nazism. He lives by fascist National Socialism.
No.
And as Giorgiani described in the video, those people are fascists. They're fascists.
You think
they don't mind if it's
one
sec. Let me explain this.
Okay, yeah.
They don't care what the political philosophy is, so long as it's fascist. And they have their one dude, and they can put him on the puppet strings and all this kind of shit, prop him up, all this kind of thing. They don't really give a fuck about that. They don't give a fuck about the nationalism. But if you had aristocratic National Socialism, then America is literally, you cannot fuck with America, because America will not fall from the inside. And that's the only weakness to America. That's the only possible way that you can cause America to fall down, because the land mass is too big and the American spirit is too strong.
Yeah. What he said.
Everything you just said is what Fuentes says.
What, who says? I'm about hyped there.
Fuentes. That's literally all. That is his entirety of everything he's ever said. I'm trying to understand why it seemed, why you're making it sound different. I don't get it. I don't understand the fascist side of Fuentes.
Like, you look at like any leader that like all the leaders that Fuentes like talks big about and all this kind of shit, they're all fascist, right?
Including Trump. He's talked about Trump.
Yeah, exactly. So and so has Trump. So I'm confused.
Yes, but I'm talking about aristocratic.
Yeah.
So you thought about this matter through Tareyak, is that correct? I think you have.
Yeah, okay. So aristocratic, when we talk about aristocratic, we're talking about a council of philosopher kings. So think of like King Arthur and the Round Table.
Yeah.
So like that's the fundamental difference. Because in terms of political philosophy, with nationalism and socialism, meaning you have the like socialism with the strict limiting principle of nation only. Because there's certain areas that just can't be capitalist. Like your military, they cannot be capitalist. They cannot be selling to the highest bidder. You cannot be selling fucking nukes to China and to Russia and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Another one is big infrastructure. You can't have China building your roads. You can't have Russia, or well, probably reverse that. You can't have Russia building your roads and China buying up massive farmland and all this kind of shit.
Yeah, the issue. Go ahead. Sorry.
The whole kind of like aspect when you look at like America, what's actually happening, what Trump has been trying to bring back is manufacturing, the industry, industrialization.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more powerful to a nation for it to actually industrialize itself. But
he
the whole
doesn't.
key trick. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Finish your thought.
The whole key play with globalists is they want to deindustrialize. They don't want like all these other nations becoming sovereign and industrializing themselves and actually getting along and cooperating with each other. They want to play both sides, play them off against each other, deindustrialize the whole place, and basically keep them impoverished, and then you can rule over them. Keep them at each other's necks, and then you'll be the big. You come in with your big fucking paycheck and all that stuff because you're a global capitalist. You're able to pay everybody off. That's why Charlie mentions oligarchs.
Sorry, so are you arguing that Donald Trump's doing that, or Nick Fuentes?
Trump is literally trying to save the world from becoming literally a one world fucking like the whole new world order and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's where I thought you were going. I just wanted to make sure. So then back to Nick Fuentes, how does he tie into that?
Why would you want to undermine Trump?
Because, well, it would be a point I was going to make before. It's similar to why people, in my opinion, and at least maybe in this country that I've seen, tend to go off to the left. It's why we've got all these leftists in power, and they seem to be, even though you see on the news that they're getting smoked, there's still millions of people, and they're still almost at a 50-50 in terms of, wanting that stuff to happen. And I think it's partially because they've just lost hope. Like young people here are more leftist now probably than ever, even though the budget that got announced, like the government budget here that got announced 24 hours ago, has pretty much depth charged them economically. Like they're never going to own a home on their own. There's no chance in hell that's ever going to happen. And they just get to a point and they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to give up. I'm going to lose hope. Fuck it. And so they don't try anymore. And they just either want to see the world burn because, well, I don't want to see people more successful than me because then they have to look into themselves, or they've got to, or they just want to flip the chessboard over and go, well, this ain't working no matter what I do. Maybe if I just tear the whole place up and burn it down, maybe we can rebuild and it might turn into something I might actually like. And I think Fuentes may potentially be getting to that point as well. Because, like, how long has the dude been hated on and just, like, debanked and, like, people go to his house, they threaten him, and not just recently, like, for years. Yeah. And he's finally got some notoriety and people are like going, listen, he's actually kind of making sense. And
he's about to prop up someone really prominent.
Yeah, but despite that, he's still not, like, he was moving up and kind of making waves, but nothing's really happening. And what I'm seeing, at least from an outsider's perspective of the, someone that's not American looking inwards, is that Trump got in again and it was like, yeah, we're going to steamroll this. We're going to make this real change. We're going to hold people accountable. We're going to put, pedos and stuff in jail. We're going to arrest corrupt politicians. We're going to do this and that. How many people are in jail? How many people have been prosecuted? Apart from immigration, which I'll give him that credit for. What about all the other things that he's done? Has he done any of what he said? Like they think, oh, we're going to start prosecuting someone. Great. Now people are at the point of, great. Oh, you're prosecuting someone. What's that, like the 50th person? How many of them are in jail? Fucking none.
Yeah, and it goes back to even 2016. He ran on Drain the Swamp. He didn't drain the swamp, and you can go back and say, well, he had this against him. He had that against
he's doing things.
He wasn't a career politician, so he didn't know what he got himself into when he said these things. It's like, Well, you've had 2 terms at it now, and we've still seen no swamp drain.
Yeah.
We saw
He kinda-
Doge cuts to a
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, like he gets to the edge. He's like he starts something.
Yes.
So like
Yep.
like with Doge and even like the prosecutions, he gets one. Okay, we've started a prosecution. We've opened Doge. They got right to the precipice of actually going. Yes, we're actually going to make change, and we're going to follow through right to the end of this process. And then they stop.
Yep.
And everyone's left wondering what the hell's going on here. Like, why are these people not actually facing real consequence? You know, like Tim Wall. Like he had like how much fraud in Minnesota, and they just let him resign. Or he didn't even resign. He's just like, I'm just not going to go back for re-election. He's still there as governor. Why? Well, I just don't understand that. You know, if I know that if I committed, you know, billions of dollars of fraud, I'd be in jail in 2 seconds, even before my court date.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's he doing? He's still chilling out as governor. It's just, I don't know. No wonder people lose hope. Yeah, no wonder people lose hope. And that's why I think ultimately he's going to lose the midterms, like as in the Republicans are going to lose the midterms, because they're proving to their own base that they're all bark and no bite. That's the sentiment. And it's been growing.
Yeah. And it goes to a point that Tareyak made in the debate earlier on today on Swords of Reason that 8 months ago, Trump called a ceasefire. Yeah, no doubt. But then what's happened 8 months post that? All hell broken loose.
Yeah.
So like, was the ceasefire just a facade, or did he just get to the edge, and that was the edge? The ceasefire at that point was the edge, and then falls back again.
Yeah, I think like with the Iran situation, for example, you know, if he had come out and gone, listen, you know, but you know, we've just like bombed the crap out of their navy, we're hitting all their military facilities, we're just absolutely crushing them in every way we can, and we're doing it so we can come in and get the oil because we're going to make America strong and we're going to get the resources. I think his voter base and even other Americans that aren't necessarily aligned with him currently would go, you know what, I actually respect the honesty, and he actually gives a crap about our country and he wants it to be stronger.
Yep. It's the honesty part.
If that's actually the case, just say it. You know, I don't know if that's 100% the case. I'm not there. I'm not in the White House. I don't speak to people in the Pentagon. But if that is what's going on, just fucking say it. Because people think that's what it is anyway. So, you know, and so you've either got people that disagree with it and just think it is anyway, or you've got people that are really confused. But if you told them that, they'd probably actually be like, yeah, okay, he's actually being honest about it. You know, he's gathering resources for his country, and he's also eliminating a geopolitical threat or a military and diplomatic threat.
That's offensive, Vintage. You can't say that.
I don't give a shit. Like,
it's not like free speech is a thing in America.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Minnesota and the ICE protests. If he had sent in the National Guard and just rounded all those idiots up and put them in cages, his supporters would have celebrated and gone, finally, we're getting rid of these idiots that are just going out and trashing our streets and burning our city to the ground. And at the same time, we're getting rid of all the crazy, you know, criminal immigrants. And at the same time, he's doing, you know, he's putting out AOE damage and getting some of the non-threatening illegal immigrants, because his mandate was get rid of the illegal immigrants. You know, just say it. Be honest about what you're doing. You know, there's no action any politician takes, regardless of what side of the aisle they're on, where you're going to get 100% unified agreement in a country. There is going to be a base, or even up to 50% of people that disagree with at least one action that you take when you're in political office.
Yes, 100%, which is why democracy is retard supremacy.
Yeah, but he had a mandate as well.
Yeah,
he won on a mandate, and you still won't act? If you're not going to act when you have a mandate and you win a popular vote and you sweep all the states, when are you going to act?
So let's
I don't
say
think
That's the
you can
question.
nice
Isn't that
bargain.
the actual most important question? Because like that's something I think about a lot. It's like when is America to actually do something about their own shit, right?
Yeah. Well, they won't. It's a it's I always call it like a 90-day news cycle. I'm actually at this point. I'm actually going to roll it back to 60 probably at the way things are going in the world.
Mhm.
Is they put up a story and it sparks a lot of controversy and it fires people up, and they're all the eyeballs are on that. And then, okay, this is not really working out, or it's going to get us in hot water if this continues. Oh, look over here, there's something else going on. And so everyone starts looking at that for the next 60 days. Meanwhile, what was happening over here gets forgotten about. Like, how many people are talking about what's happening in Minnesota? How many people are talking about the childcare fraud that Nick Shirley exposed? Like, that's not
Can you name
blasted
the
all
two
over.
people that got killed by the ICE agents? Probably not. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
How many people are talking about
How
Renee
many
Good?
people- what was the number again?
People were like take YouTube as well, just as an example, because it's the same thing. Is when Renee Good got unalived, there was like every YouTuber and their dog and everyone in the mainstream media was talking about it. They would dedicate like 4 hours a day to going over this. How many people are doing this review and looking into it still?
Just
None,
one,
because they
Brian
don't care.
Shapiro.
They only care about like the immediate, right?
Well, they just look at what's in
So-
front of them and then they get easily distracted to something else.
So let's say Trump does what you're saying. He locks up Tim Walz. He locks up Ilhan Omar. Starts like just locking up all this. Starts locking up all his political opponents. Like, do you think do you think it's going to be more violent or less violent than what we've seen with like the whole BLM riots
All
and all
hell
this
will
kind of
break
shit?
loose.
It's civil
But
war.
it's gonna break. That's gonna happen one way or another.
Is it
It's
civil
just-
war or is it revolution?
Yeah, civil war.
It's just how long are you going to draw it out? How long are you going to draw
It's a
that
good
out?
one, actually. Is it a revolution? Or does it encourage a revolution?
I think it's a revolution. I don't think there's anything civil about this.
I don't care. I actually wouldn't care, to be honest, because you're either going to draw this out and nothing's going to get done pretty much in perpetuity, or you're going to just have to bite the bullet, metaphorically speaking, and go, listen, this is going to be painful for me. Like if I was Trump, for example, I said, this is going to hurt me politically. I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this. I'm probably going to get lawsuits, but I got to clean this shit up and just get rid of it all. We need to restore order, and you don't restore order by just doing shit in a 60-day news cycle and then moving on to something else and leaving the job you were doing incomplete.
Yep.
Because it's like a weed. You can if you cut the top of the weed, it grows back. If you dig that shit out of the
Do you remember
ground.
what I was talking about with the globalists?
Was I here for that?
But with globalists, wouldn't it be then revolution as opposed
Like
to
a war, like conflict, civil war, whatever you want to call it, that weakens a nation, which is exactly what
Temporarily.
globalists want to see happen.
Well,
Yeah,
not,
but
Yeah, they want to
temporarily.
tear itself apart from the inside.
not if you're
And
the greatest,
the whole
baby.
American spirit, and like you basically decimate your own population, and now you're like struggling to try and like reform a fucking government.
Well, I didn't
And, like, the
advocate.
amount
I didn't advocate for
One sec.
anyone being unalived.
I'll let you talk, Vintage.
Oh,
let
that-
me return.
Go ahead.
It goes into the Civil War. You have complete sound distrust. The American spirit is now shattered. You have to then pick up the pieces, whatever. And in the meantime, you have these global capitalists come in, and they'll basically either continue to fund the war in some way, shape, or fashion. Just look through the American history, how this has been
So
done.
Okay, then. So, what's your solution for solving the problem?
What Trump is doing right now.
But he's
What
about to
Charlie
lose.
tried to do by uniting Democrats and Republicans.
Okay, you think there
How
can
are
be
the
unity
Republicans
between-
and Democrats united right now?
Yeah, you literally have Democrats that go online and advocate and encourage
You've got
them,
gays for
encourage
Gaza.
their people to go and unalive people because of political differences. Case in point, Destiny.
No, you have queers for Palestine, not gays for Gaza. It's specifically queers for Palestine. And if you look into queer theory, that's just basically a philosophy to try and legalize PDFs. This is why they're for Palestine, because when you look at Islamic law, you can like marry fucking 12-year-olds. So that's why they're partnered up with the Islamists.
It's still dividing the country, though.
Yeah, one way or another, there's going to be division. You can't escape that. It's an unfortunate reality. I wish it wasn't that way. It sucks, but you can't negotiate with someone that has no intention of negotiating with you, and on top of that, calls for for you to be deleted off planet Earth.
And that's what he's saying would happen. If we started rounding up people, this and that, it would definitely happen in the United States.
Well, that's kind of why I asked.
Very damn ugly, very fast.
That's
Okay.
kind of why I asked.
And then what's the
delineation.
aftermath? What's the aftermath after that, though, Crazy?
Do what? The
Let's say-
aftermath?
You're now owned by the globalists. You no longer have sovereignty.
Yeah, they got their wish. They get their wish. They tear us
But then
apart from the inside. We tear ourselves apart. We can't
But
have
America, well, the remainder of so it's kind of like within a civil war, for example. And again, I'm not calling for like as in pick up a
that's
weapon
what
or
happened.
anything. But okay, well, let's say that does happen for argument's sake. Would at the end of that you not have a one united America? Because
that. No, you
the
have
victor-
millions of people dead. Is what you have.
and the rest that are not, would they all be on a united front because they won the war?
No.
What
We've been through that.
what happened? One sec, Vintage. What happened to Abraham Lincoln after the Civil War?
Yeah, well, he was.
He got deleted.
He got whacked. Yeah,
Precisely.
And then the
so this whole
country
thing
came
of like
together?
we'll all be united after the Civil War. That's not what happens.
That would not happen. I don't believe.
had he not been whacked, do you think there would have been any more conflict?
Still would have been out there to try and undermine all this kind of shit as well. But like this whole like national unity. That's why they killed Charlie, because Charlie was going to unify. He was converting Democrats.
Oh, he was. Yeah, no, I agree with that. He was like the one big hope of actually uniting this peacefully.
Trump is the
and
hope.
then they killed him.
He's the great white hope.
And then they killed him. How do you respond to that?
You see the trend. I mean, even JFK, he was trying to do away with or try to anti-war things. That's what I'm trying to say.
He was trying to unite with
He
his
was trying to
enemies.
combine,
in the case of Charlie Kirk, and rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. But he was trying to unite with his enemies. People that saw him as his enemies, and they killed him for it.
You talking about JFK?
No, I'm talking about Charlie Kirk.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
JFK is another guy. He tried to blow the lid off it, and they blew his brains out too.
Yeah. So what's the lesson there? You can't unite with your enemies. People that want you dead want you dead. You cannot bring them to the table.
Democrat.
Can I ask a question as far as like, does this tie into like the United States? I wouldn't say isolating, but America first, right?
Yeah. By the way, actually, I'll just also really quick. I'm just taking a really extreme opinion here because I'm really curious on kind of fleshing out that side. Because what I'm arguing here is what I hear a lot of here in Australia. So I'm really interested to get the side of the story of people that aren't complete lunatics.
As in what part of it?
Wait, I'm a lunatic, so I don't know how much I'll.
As in, people here are starting to get the sentiment that you just, instead of trying to come to the table with your people that disagree with you politically, you should just you should do something more extreme about it and put the hammer down.
That's what the left has done, right? Or the extreme left.
They don't have an option for a third party. There is no possible option for a third party in America.
That's not going to happen.
It's not even considerable.
That's our saving grace, because we are starting we're starting to
Correct.
get a third party here. That's our
right.
difference. We've got a third
right.
party like surging, and in popularity and power right now.
That can't happen in America. So it's like, well, what is the next step? The next step is to
I don't want to see people out in the field or out in the street trying to delete each other. I don't want to see that.
No, and that's fair.
So what? You just keep a constant Cold War going on within your own country.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or you unite the right and the left through National Socialism.
They're such different ideologies. You cannot unite. You cannot unite abortion versus fucking pro-life.
Hold on,
pro-choice. You can't do it.
It's in our name, though. This is where I get really fucking frustrated with there's only two sides in America, right? We're United States.
You're united under the the fact that you live in the same area. That is the only way you are united.
Yeah, you're united as one country. You're united under one country. The issue that you guys have, at least from an outsider's perspective, is that neither side considers it to be a United States. They consider it to be, and so if I'm a Democrat, it's a Democrat state, Democrat country, and Republicans are treading on me and my people, and we need to fight them at all costs. And
until there's a national tragedy, then we come together. Why can't we do that all the time?
Sorry, say that again.
Because you need multiple mass tragedies.
Yeah, we don't want that either. So, but I mean,
we can do it. You have a tragedy.
Well,
let's say you get a tragedy but what happens when you have a tragedy like Charlie Kirk being assassinated? When they tried to whack Trump, 3 times now?
They're not big enough. They're not countrywide.
What's bigger?
Most mass.
What's bigger than the president of the United States for Americans?
Twin Towers is probably bigger.
Yep. It's the loss of life. That's what I'm talking. A massive loss of life.
That's the only thing that unites is massive loss of life.
No, what unites us is freedom.
See, I think that used to happen.
Different country.
That used to happen, but not anymore.
Texas wanted to be a completely different country.
Yeah.
It's not that united.
Yeah, I agree that with when the Twin Towers were hit, America did unite.
For about 30 minutes.
Yeah, but now we're in 2026. That doesn't happen, and I think within for multiple reasons, and this is very unfortunate, but mass loss of life doesn't trigger people like that anymore to go, listen, maybe we should wake up. How many times does a school get shot up in the United States? How many murders are there in the United States?
This is why I asked
and it's like nothing. It's like water ducks back. It's like talking about the weather.
That's why I asked where it would be considered a civil conflict versus revolution, right?
Revolution, yeah.
Because revolution's going to be way more violent.
Yeah. Not that it would ever happen, but I think if you want to talk about something on a major scale where America might unite, Democrat and Republican, you guys would need to have some sort of ground invasion or some sort of like severe military action taken against you on your own soil.
Yeah, that's
and that's not going to happen.
War.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen because your military is way too strong.
You know what would happen after that?
Shit,
we would go right back where we are right now.
Like,
you think so?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I was just trying to think of like what the most extreme option, the extreme circumstance would be, whether or not that would be enough. And that was the most extreme thing I could think of. And you'd still say you still wouldn't unite under that circumstance.
Oh, we would unite. We would take care of the threat, and then we go right back in a couple of years to being what we are now. That's where it's always been.
Yeah. So I think then the crux of the conversation, I guess what we're trying to figure out is, okay, if you get to a point of uniting, how do you keep the glue together? Or is the answer that it's impossible?
That's pretty much the answer.
That it's impossible.
I kind of think it.
So then someone needs to win this one side needs to win outright then.
Well, if you reduce it right, it comes down to force.
I agree.
Yeah, who's got the bigger stick?
Yeah,
inside against each other. That just can't happen again.
You know what the big thing though is, and you tell me if you disagree, and I'd be interested in your thought. is that right now the Republicans have the biggest stick. They will not use it. To their credit. Do you think Democrats have that sort of restraint?
No.
It's proven that they don't.
No.
They definitely don't. It's been proven.
Well, you're about to find out then, because when they get back in, what's going to happen?
They're going to undo everything we've done.
Yes, 100%. And I
We get
don't
back
like
in,
the
we'll
fact
undo
that
everything they've done.
Yep.
Yeah, and the Democrats are going to start doing the Democrats when they win the midterms. You're going to find out, and then what are you going to do? Are you just going to let it go? Well, listen, okay, we're just going to get our ass beat with the stick that we refused to use initially, and we're just going to keep copying it and taking it and hope that we can vote ourselves back in, or is something else going to happen?
That's why we have Trump in front.
Do you think that there's...
But you have him until 2028. What happens after that?
I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, because
exactly
we've been.
Well, you got Giuliani. You got Rubio.
Yeah, and he's old. He's old as well.
This is kind of why I think it is more revolution, right?
A revolution is a big step.
It's a big fucking 100%. But the side that has all the arms, right? And I'm not claiming one or the other. I'm just pointing this out. That's been silent and not violent. When they get violent, it's gonna go bad.
It's going to go very bad, yes.
Yeah. There's something I heard a while ago, and I'm going to assume it's true. Again, I'm curious if you disagree. Is that they say, Republicans could, they're the ones that have all the guns, so they could just, if they wanted to, click finger, okay, force doctrine, we're running the show. They don't do that.
No,
not yet.
And they don't get, not yet, but they don't get the credit for that. They're like, they get accused of it a lot. Oh, they're all gun wielding nutbags, and this person takes over with the click of a finger, and like that's what that's what the left would say, because they don't have
the left. Do you think, Vintage? What?
Well, right now they don't. In that situation, they don't have the guns.
Well, isn't that kind of why we're talking about it? You know what I mean? Like,
sorry, crazy, I missed that.
Well, I was just asking, like, isn't that why we're talking about it? And like, we use reason and logic.
Yeah.
But when that gets thrown out the fucking window, you don't want to see the violence that comes from reason and logic.
It won't only affect the United States; it will affect the whole planet.
Yep.
No, I agree.
And not in a very good way at all.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not initially. It might eventually.
I was talking about it today. Like again, I'm finance. We just had an Australian budget, government budget announced. People are talking like how our economic pathway is going to go in the next 3 years. Two of the major concerns we have in Australia economically, is the Iran conflict and what's going to happen in the United States when Trump's out of power.
Exactly.
Out of all the things in Australia. Out of all the things in Australia that drive our economy, the two biggest things on the table that is going to determine that, in Australia's opinion, aren't even in our own country. They're half a world away.
Right.
Right. That's the concern they have.
Well, and what happens when Americans, if we were to start a revolution, right? What happens to the rest of the world? That destabilizes everything, right?
Yep.
Which is why we should be doing these preventable measures.
Well, that's why the people in political office at the time are the ones that are going to have to hold it together. If they get supplanted one way or another during that sort of conflict, if it were to happen, they've got to be able to keep all their shit in order and go, listen, we're still running the country and we're going to drive these lunatics out.
Which is why I like Trump's waving with his left hand, and then like weeks later we see what his right hand's doing.
True.
But shit, this could go south real fast.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to see loss of life. I don't. I really don't. And I don't think anyone here does, and I doubt anyone in the chat does, and anyone with half a brain doesn't want to. but I'm trying to think objectively and take my feelings out of it and go, how do you actually avoid it? And I can't. I'm stuck. I'm like, it's a quandary in my mind. It's like I'm a pinball machine in my head. The ball just keeps bouncing around. I don't know.
For sure. I struggle with the same thing because it's like I don't want to see that happen. But if you're going to force our hand, right, then it will happen.
So it's more of a then. Would it be more of a you're waiting for the other side to do it so you can claim self-defense to kind of take the moral high ground? Is that what you mean? Or
no, not at all. I just
okay.
It's got to come to a head, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Which is kind of why I was asking the question whether it would be a civil war or a revolution. I think it would be a revolution.
Can you have one without the other?
Well, it's not civil if you're using force, right?
Do you not use force in a revolution, though?
100%. That's why I say they're not the same.
Wait a minute. Sorry, maybe I misheard you. So you've got you've got civil war or you've got revolution. Which one of these does not include the use of force? Usually using a weapon.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like.
Well, yeah, it comes down to force.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, I'm just trying to explore it because I don't. Yeah, that's where I kind of got the disconnect there because I'm like, well, they both end up coming to a head in the same way.
But is it civil if it comes to force?
A civil war? How can you have a civil war without force?
So what's the delineation then?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
What happened in the Civil War? We named
I'm
it
working
that.
through it with you too.
Sorry, sorry?
I said we named the Civil War the Civil War. What happened? They wasn't shaking hands.
Oh no, there's definitely a lot more.
Yeah, it was a war. yeah. The key word in that is war. It's, you could call it a civil war, you could call it an internal war, you could use a Trumpism and say it's a big beautiful war. It's still a war. It doesn't.
Yep.
Which
it doesn't matter when it comes down to violence. It's going to be violence, no matter what you name it.
Yeah, correct.
So, what do you think the delineation?
And as the old part, I'm going to try not to let it get there. To be honest with you, I
mean,
can't
I'm
do
curious,
anything really.
I'm also
I can talk.
working through this. Like, which way is Occam's razor? Is what I'm sort of trying to get at in my brain. Which would be less violent, or is it just the same?
Sorry, I'm really tired and I'm massively dehydrated.
No,
can't think.
You're good.
I had to literally Google it. I know Occam's razor, and I'm drawing a blank. I had to Google it.
Oh, simplest explanation.
Yeah, simplest explanation.
Yeah.
Well, explanation of the explanation between a civil war and a revolution, or you think about simplest outcome.
I'm looking at the definitions right now, and it looks like it's going to be civil.
No. See, I don't see. I just
I'm
don't.
Also looking this stuff up too.
Yeah, I just don't see. Yeah, my issue here is, I guess, and maybe why I'm confused is I don't see a difference between the two. It's the same thing with a different label.
Kind of is what I was thinking. Although I would say a civil war would be longer. I would think a revolution would be pretty quick and swift.
But you could have a quick and swift civil war. You could, wars don't have to be protracted unless you choose them to be.
They both have some keywords in there.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm thinking of like what Vintage was saying earlier. I want the least amount of loss of life.
Oh well, that's fair. I can agree to that. I think anyone that wants, the most loss of life, or just, that's crazy. If it can be prevented, I just don't know how you prevent it. The way that the trajectory of how this is all going, I don't see how you avoid that one either way. And that's not a fun thing to think about, or to consider even to be a possibility.
But it's not that broken yet. It could be tomorrow, but it's not today.
Yeah.
So I guess, does the delineation between Civil War and Revolution at this point pretty much not matter?
Right. If it happens, it happens. We'll name it whatever we want. But it would be going for the same.
Yeah.
We'd have the same goal either way. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
That's
it's call it a civil war, call it a civil war, a revolution, a roast dinner.
Violence.
It doesn't matter.
Call it violence. Yeah.
It's violence. Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it. I really can't.
I don't want to
address my neighbor. I don't want to do that.
I don't think anyone wants to.
No, fuck no.
I'll do it if I have to protect,
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. You'll defend yourself. Yeah, you'll defend yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'm more of maybe this is my, what I call it, like my competitive nature, I guess, like when this might be a really poor example, but, like if I'm gaming or I'm playing a game of chess or a board game, or something that requires strategic thought, my option traditionally is that the best defense is a good offense, because it usually gets the job done a lot quicker.
You could be Don King looking for a fight to promote too.
On the RTS point, though, you got to build your base first, and you got to have strong walls.
Yep.
Yeah, turtling is usually one of the most ineffective RTS strategies, though.
I mean, but
turtling, crazy turtling. By the way, it's basically just building your base. Building your base and never moving out of your territory.
Yeah, but if you're playing co-op, then one stone walls their base and does all the production, and the other one just focuses on unit production.
Okay, so in Republican v Democrat RTS style, the Republicans put up their walls. Who's their co-op mate that's doing the production and sending people into the field to eventually get a victory?
Well, we kind of got our nuts cut off. Yeah, exactly. We kind of have our nuts cut off right now, which Trump's trying to fix.
You said that way too quick, crazy. That was like a microsecond. Boom.
Just driving me crazy. We're not self-sustained anymore. Self-sufficient, whatever you want to call it.
Why are none of these media companies talking about how they want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz all the time, but they don't want to fucking talk about how now China and Russia has to buy oil from us, and they are.
Yeah, you can't give credit. Come on, you've only got to look at all this shit. That's like dog on a surfboard. That's dog on a surfboard theory. So dog on a surfboard theory. It's basically, you remember back in the day, like go back to like the 90s or late 80s, and you'd turn on like the 6 o'clock news, and they'd talk about, there was this great thing they did with charity, and there was this really good Samaritan, and the local church is really doing well, like all these happy-go-lucky, like positive stories. And then at the end, at least in Australia, I remember seeing it when I was a kid, they always had like some 10 or 20-second video to end that panned and ended the news, and it would be something really wholesome and funny. And I remember when I was a kid, there was literally like a dog on the water standing on a surfboard, and it was gliding over the water. I was like, that's really
talking
cute.
about sports papers on VHS.
100%. Yeah, stuff like that. But now these days, whenever I put on the news, it's like, okay, we're going to start off the news. There was a shooting. This person's house was, was ransacked. There was this big car crash, and there were, 4 cars got totaled. Thanks very much for tuning into the 6 o'clock news. We're now going to leave you with some footage of a burning building. Good night.
Well, yeah, when they used back when they used to use facts,
it's just
not
depressing.
opinions.
Oh yeah, and that too. Yeah.
I was going to imagine how wholesome my programs was. I'm a little bit older than you are. Imagine how wholesome they were. Every night we signed off with the anthem and the flag and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I stopped watching our 6 o'clock news probably about 3 years ago. And I noticed like within about 3 months, I was a lot happier.
Okay.
Like I wasn't, like I'm seriously, like I was just like, and I didn't even realize that I would done it. I just stopped watching the news because, I was busy. I was doing other stuff. I was out with mates and whatever. And then I'm just like, yeah, things are going really good and stuff. And then I went back and turned on the news one day and I was just like, this is fucking depressing.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned it off again and I haven't watched it since.
I started there and then I got rid of Facebook, Snapchat.
Oh, getting rid of Facebook.
All that shit. All the social media besides YouTube. Because
I'm looking for something about. That's what I look at Facebook. Whatever the marketplace. That's about it. That's all. That's the only reason I have it.
I use it for the messenger. I only use it for the messenger, and I've
That
got
works
like
too,
maybe,
yeah.
and I've got like, well, and you see people out on Facebook, and it's like, look at you like pick a random profile on Facebook. Just go to Facebook now and just random profile, and that person's probably got like 600 friends, 1,000 friends, 2,000 friends. I've got like 41.
Yeah,
and half of them are family members.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that.
And then I've just and I literally use it for the messenger because between those 20 friends, some of them are different states or overseas and stuff. But these are like longtime friends of like 10 years plus, and we've got like a couple of little groups. Like I've got a couple of high school mates. I've got some people I used to work with in another job back in the day that we keep in touch with, those sort of things. And occasionally, my messenger will ping and I'll be like, oh, hey, what's going on? You'll chat back and forth. But I've not actually been on Facebook itself for so long. Like, it's insane. Like, it's just crazy. I only have the app on my phone because I think I need to keep the app in order to keep the messenger. But I don't open it and I turn off all the notifications. I don't even know. I'd probably have like 3 million notifications, something stupid on there. And I have no interest in clicking on it at all.
Yeah, I don't fool with it. No, I've got enough doom and gloom, and I ain't gonna do that crazy shit. I don't want to see it anymore. I'm done with it.
Actually, here's a thought. Talking about bringing people together, let's just do that. Let's mandate that you're only allowed to use Facebook for the messenger. We'll terminate Instagram. We'll get rid of TikTok. We'll get rid of all these trash things where people just go and cope and just talk about how
maybe saying that as a joke or being sarcastic. I don't know, but that might actually work.
No, I'm actually being serious here. No, I'm actually being serious. Because imagine how much time people spend on their phones and computers on some of these trash websites, and all they're doing is just having a cope session with each other and just trying to, it's like a competition of who can be depressed and angry more.
Yeah, and the next generation of whatever you want to, kids, whatever, when they grow up, this is going to be bad.
They're already screwed.
Media is going to ruin it for them.
Yeah, my niece, I call her my niece, my goddaughter. she's 14 years old and going through this sort of shit.
Yeah,
and it's because you don't get bullied at school anymore, you get bullied on your Facebook, and your messenger, and so they were just like, turn it off, and she turned it off, and she's so much happier. She doesn't even look at it. It's like, just do that to every kid. Get rid of it.
If we only could.
Yeah,
that's up to the parents or shutting the company down. I doubt that'll happen.
Well, Australia's taken one step in that. There is a new law was recently passed. I think it was a couple of months ago, maybe a bit more. You cannot actually activate and get an account unless you're 16 years of age. Now, before you say it, I know it can be easily abused, VPNs, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
That's about the only step in the direction of the current government that I was somewhat happy with, even though it's probably more so for other nefarious means. Because I'm like, at least we can try and get some of these, we can save at least some of the kids from having to go through that slop in their youth.
Yeah.
So I have a question on that, though, because of course I have to make everything about weed.
Well, of course.
But the moment you
we'll let you keep Facebook
no,
Marketplace.
I have an actual point.
You can use
Facebook.
You can make. Okay, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
420. If once you legislate something, at least in America, so I'm speaking from here, right? Once you legislate it, and this is what we're seeing with the rescheduling of cannabis, once you put a law on it and it's legislated, it's very hard to change it after the
Yeah, I knew that's where you're going with that, and you are absolutely correct. And that's the only reason. That's why I have some hesitation to it, because I think part of that has actually been a way for them to leapfrog and parlay into like these anti-free speech, like hate law things that we've got now here. So, and it was actually something I thought about because I started my channel, and then all this stuff came in, and then it's like. I kind of joked to myself, and then I thought about it more, and it's like maybe this could actually for real happen. Is that I'll say something on the internet, like or on my channel, and with my 94 amazing subscribers, like I'm like a drop in the bucket.
I'm one of them.
No, I'm not downplaying.
And you're winning.
Yeah, but you get what I mean. Like I could be like some. Like in the grand scheme, like I'm not like some million subscriber channel. I don't have any like reach or political pull or anything like that. But I'll say something completely like innocent in terms of let's say I make a joke about something, it gets taken the wrong way, or I use a certain phrase in my joke, and next thing you know, I got police at my door.
Yep.
Damn.
It's like think of the UK. What happened over there? Like that's actually happening in the UK.
Oh, 100%. There's a whole bunch of people that are getting
in the UK for sure.
And the legislation here is loosely based off that, and we all knew it too, and people still support it.
Is Canada not that way?
Canada's tricky, I do believe, on that one.
Okay. Didn't know for sure.
I think. Not so much right now, but Speakeasy's talked about this, where it's like there is a weird clause in their government where the British.
That's what I
have. I actually suspected that because at the start of all of his videos, and I don't know if this is recent, I'm just taking a guess. At the start of all of his lives and videos, he's got like that disclaimer that goes on for like 20 seconds or something, and I'm like, that's probably because of a law in Canada. That's my guess.
I heard him explain that once. I can't remember what he said, but it was to avoid all that
crazy
stuff.
I think we heard the same one where he was explaining, because it also changes, like if their government's fucking up, the British can be like, or the British ambassador, I think, can be like, hold an election.
Really? The British, like UK?
Well, there's a tie to the monarchy, and
is it?
Yeah,
that's what he was saying.
They have the Queen of England on their money. Well,
that's why normally you have the Queen of England on your money, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the United States are the colonizers.
Yeah, right. We get enough shit to handle.
Oh, wow, it does. I had no idea of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so because it's part of a Commonwealth realm, so it shares King Charles III as its monarch and head of state. Wow, I did not actually know that.
Isn't that nuts?
I didn't either.
And they didn't do it for Trudeau the entire time that fucking idiot was there.
Well, they probably agree with him, given how it's all going. Although the one saving grace is something I do, because I do follow a bit of UK politics. Keir Starmer's hanging on by a thread, so that'll be fun to watch. He's got like a whole bunch of his ministers and bigwigs, in his cabinet that are all, they're all quitting and resigning and telling him to, they're like going out into the media and going, we want this guy gone. Like he should just resign. And he's like, I'm not resigning. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll just keep humiliating you and letting you lose ground politically. And then when you're down to like 0% favorability, you're going to have no choice.
Well,
yeah. Hey, independent thinker. Hey, man.
Wouldn't that be But on the democracy side, sure, they can say all that.
Oh yeah, but you can.
You don't want
You
the
can get.
retards deciding things.
Yeah, I don't know if you've got I don't know how it is in the UK specifically, but in Australia, you can, if you're within like the political power, so like the Labor government, which is our left wing, they got old mate Prime Minister. If his other cabinet members and MPs didn't really want to, they can hold a vote of no confidence and kick him out of office. Because the Prime Minister of Australia, he's not like the president. It's not, you're not voting for the Prime Minister, you're voting for the party. The party controls who runs that party.
Ooh.
So if they don't like him, and it's actually happened, it's happened 3 times that I can think of in the last probably decade, where midterm the party has ousted their prime minister and then held a vote behind closed doors and installed someone different. And then they walk out of the room and go, "This is our new prime minister," and everyone's like, "Who the fuck are you?" Or that's not true. We actually know who they are generally, and it's like,
Yeah.
sorry.
I know
So
what you mean, though.
so it's like, who are you? It's like, oh, this idiot.
I mean, really sit down. One thing, I'm out of cigarettes. I can't live like that. Tareyak, are you awake? Nope.
It's okay. We're holding it down.
I really want. I actually need to go too, but I don't want to leave it. He's asleep.
I was actually going to roast him a little bit. Since he's not here to respond, I'm going to roast him a little bit. Vintage, you saw last night. I did a 12-hour stream. I have zero idea how the fuck Tareyak is going to pull this 24-hour one off. I was fucking hallucinating at the end of it.
I've done I think my largest one is like 11. And I was just tired. I can't say I was hallucinating, but it's kind of similar to gaming. Is that so? When you're at your desk and you're on the screens and you're interacting and you're doing stuff and whatnot, it's like you've got like a can of V on an intravenous drip, just like feeding you and keeping you awake and from the adrenaline. And then it's like, okay, I'm off chat, see you later. And you log off. And then like within 4 minutes, I'm like laying in bed and I am out like a light in 30 seconds. And that's big for me because I do not sleep well. I'm like an insomniac. Well,
same.
Somewhat.
I'm here.
Yeah. Like it's so hard. Like I've got something I can take to knock me out if I'm really getting to that point. And I actually might tonight because my mind's racing because I've got a procedure coming up, so I'm like really fucking nervous about it.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. So I'm like,
dude, I have every finger that I can cross.
Oh, it's fine. It's not a like an It's not like a serious procedure, So, but it's just I'm also got a very bad phobia of needles. So I don't know if you've been on panel or anything when I've told the story about being chased out of the hospital before. I'm guessing not from the silence.
Well, you didn't say it last night, I don't think.
No, it wasn't last night. I said it a while ago. I don't know if maybe you're listening or whether you're on panel. It was a while ago.
Right on.
Yeah,
well, you should tell it again.
I'll tell it again. All right, for funsies. So I had a bad car accident and I needed back surgery. I had a disc that was popping out at the bottom of my spine, and so they needed to work on it and fix it up. And I was on a wait list, and I finally got called in out of nowhere. I was like, yes, I'll take it, because I was literally limping around. It was so painful. And so you go in the day before because it's like last minute, and you've got to see the specialist, you got to talk to the anaesthetist, you got to talk to a GP doctor in there, then you talk to the surgeon. There's like 4 or 5 appointments. So go in the wait room, go to the first appointment, come out, wait an hour, see the next one, wait an hour, see the next one as you go on. And the whole time I'm thinking they're going to ask me for a blood test. And I hate needles. Really, really hate them. I hate being stuck with stuff. I've got a massive phobia of it. Yeah. And I got to, and my mum actually worked in the hospital at the time. She was a pharmacy assistant, like in like the kind of like the dispensary, if you want to call it that. And so it got to like 3 PM, and she was on her afternoon tea break. So she came in and found me and was like, "Hey, how you going?" I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Just man, we were just having a chat while she was on break. And then I got called in by the last appointment guy, which was the random, like the regular doctor. They go through the risks and all that stuff as they do. He's like, "Okay, no, it looks like you're all good to go." And I'm thinking, that's my last appointment. They haven't asked me for a blood test. Awesome. I literally got 1 foot out the door, and he's like, "Do you have your blood test yet?" I'm like, "No." Okay. He's like, "Just go back in the weight room, and we'll call you in a second, get it done." So I walk back out. Mum's still there. She's like, "Is everything all good?" And I am white as a ghost. I'm shaking. I'm like having half a panic attack. And I'm like, "I need to have a blood test." She's like, "Oh, don't worry, it'll be all right. You know, it's fine, whatever." And I get called up immediately, and because she works in the hospital.
Hold on, isn't that like the worst thing you can say to somebody that's like in the middle of a panic attack?
Oh,
Like, it'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
No, that's I'm paraphrasing. She didn't say that exactly, but she said it in her motherly way. But anyway, she's like, I'm walking in, and she's like, "Oh, do you want me to come in? You know, just have a chat." You know, the way I get through it these days is I'm just like, just talk to me. I'm not going to look. I'm going to be like, my arms out. "Hey, how you going? How's the weather? What do you do for work? You know, you going on any holiday soon? Whatever. Any conversation. I don't care what it is." And so I'm just talking to Mum. You know, "How's Dad going? You know, what's he been up to? Blah, blah, blah," talking away. And in front of me, there was the doctor, and he had his back to me, and he's obviously preparing stuff, and turned around, and I saw the point of that needle, and I just stood up, and I'm like, "I'm out of here. You ain't putting that shit near me." You know, and I just freaked out. And so I got to a point. Yeah, that's true trailer trash.
I'm just letting it flow, seeing how long.
Oh, he's away. He's away.
I also forgot to shout out Pseudo. Pseudo done the 5 and I didn't see it. But one second, play the clip. I'll play the shredding clip to make up for it as well, because shout out for Pseudo as well. Appreciate you, Connie, TTM, and shout out to Pseudo as well. I do apologize for missing the other one. But we're on 105, gentlemen. 105.
Nice.
Yeah. You gonna not acknowledge my comment? It was pretty funny.
Well, do you know how we got here?
Yeah, from VK. Speak easy.
No. Like from this point in the conversation to when I spoke last.
I don't know when the last time you spoke
went on.
was.
We just went off
sleeping for like 3 hours.
Well, we were talking back and forth about the topic, and then we thought you were asleep, and then it was like, "Oh, so what else has been going on?" And we're just like.
But what was the topic? What was the last thing I was saying? I was specifically saying to crazy.
My question for crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that on me to remember that?
We went through a fair bit.
Yeah, when I was saying, like, remember when I was showing you the Charlie Kirk clip? Remember when I was showing you the Georgiani clips and all that kind of shit?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that was a while back now. We were
No, I'm asking you is like, do you remember?
No.
Not really.
Well, I was saying the crazy is like
when
this
you
is,
fell asleep.
This is why. No, I let it run because like what I was saying the crazy is like I don't know if it's a self-defense mechanism or if like people can't view the big picture. And I genuinely think it's like the big picture thing.
I think it's both. I think it's both. They can't see the big picture, so they can't understand, and therefore, that's their defense mechanism is just because they don't understand. They flip.
I mean, I'm not being defensive, so I wouldn't say defense mechanism.
Yeah, it's not.
No, not for you.
I genuinely think people can't see the big picture.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely they can't see the big picture. Like they're bitching about the fucking gas prices and shit, and it's like I see that as investment into like energy independence.
Yeah.
Because they're not looking at well, plus people also don't in America understand that gas prices are totally
Yeah.
corporate speculation.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah,
They decide that
Australia's
shit.
Australia's the same. We had our old mate Treasurer in the government budget last night go on a diatribe about how the reason our inflation's been up for the last 4 years and cost of living's like gone up like 60% is because of the Strait of Hormuz.
Yep.
Which only started at the beginning of this year.
Plus, it's
But
also
apparently
regulation.
but apparently the last 4 years that it's all been going on and things have been in the shit, it's because of the Strait of Hormuz. Like maybe maybe everyone had a crystal ball and knew that was going to happen. But it's like
Well, we're
insane.
supposed to believe that, like, I'm not gonna say any of them, but the big oil companies were just supposed to assume that their CEOs who are like making a fuck ton of money are gonna tell us the truth, but yet it's like the whole market is based on their speculation.
Yeah, but I don't care. And this is the other thing is that I don't care that they make all that money. It's a business.
Oh,
That's
I
what
agree.
a business
I mean,
does.
I'm pro-capitalism.
Yeah, they're
I
like,
am.
how dare they make all this money? It's like, well, what else are you there for if it's a business?
I think
Well-
there is an issue with the huge corporatization of, and I don't know how to justify that yet. That's something I'm trying to work on being able to.
That's why people generally turn to socialism and communism because they think that'll solve the problem.
But I do like Tareyak.
I'm not saying you do, but that's a very common perception or common theory.
Tareyak, what was the name of it? See, we need to work on the marketing of your idea because it was named something and then it was not received well, and you changed it to what was it? Aristotic something republicanism. I can't remember the second word.
No, like I keep trying to point out, the enemy is the global capitalist.
100%.
Like when you read Marxism, he's talking about capitalism and he's talking about communism.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And like the stage before communism is socialism. And it actually goes to like what Ryan is like been trying, like he's screaming from the bell tower with the liberals, kind of saying it's like, ye think that you're fucking like all this and all this kind of shit, but are like, even the liberals are being led down astray. You know what I mean? Because the likes of like Vaush and fucking what's his name, Hassan, all this kind of shit. Like Destiny's just his mind's just gone at this stage. He's just fucking like vibes.
Hassan isn't either. I think
but like
Hassan's
Hassan's like
even
full
worse.
blown like communist. Like he's taken the communist bill. There's a guy on he's trying to do like a right wing version of communism, some shit like that. Get what his name is. I think that's the dude that Nick Fuentes is going to endorse and all this kind of shit. But like the liberals are just like, they're being led astray by the communists and all this kind of shit, and they think, oh yeah, like we're liberals and all this kind of shit. But like Ryan's basic point now is like, you guys have no limiting principle to your philosophy whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like to the point where it's like, yous are going to go like so progressive, so liberal. Like you call yourselves a liberal, but what you really are is just like a progressive to the point where you will progress past the Constitution. You know what I mean? So like, what is the limiting principle here? And none of them have an answer. Been on Wick, he's been debating. Well, could say debating or just like having conversations with like the lefties or libertarians, all this kind of shit. And like it's the same kind of situation. You know what I mean? Where it's like I'm trying to warn right wingers about the global capitalists, and it's like this whole thing of like it devolving into civil war. It's like that's exactly what they want to do. These are the same people that done the whole COVID shit. They shut down the whole planet, and they gave everybody a bit of bread and all this kind of shit, and then the whole like slow kind of like restart back into the workforce and all this kind of shit. Like they're more than willing to drop a fucking bioweapon in China just so they can get their way, kind of thing. So like causing a civil war in America, and that was the whole sidetrack as well, where we were saying like, oh, like so like I don't know if we call it a civil war or a revolution. It's like Pretty much the same thing. Conflict in the nation. Do you know what I mean? And this is the whole like British imperial system. You look back through history, this is exactly what they done. Caused the country to go into civil war, and then they just robbed them of their resources. Same situation of like all these policies that have been passed for like the past 70 years or so in America have all been pushing us towards deindustrialization, moving your manufacturing over to China. You know what I mean? You got to really think about the fact that it's like everybody like says China, they use slave labor and all this kind of shit. It's like, yeah, no shit. They want to bring slavery back. They want to like restore like the world to the old world. You know what I mean? And like this is what I keep trying to point out, where it's like it's not just the communists. The communists are the useful idiots. They're the people that are more like they're the psychopaths or the mentally ill that are more than willing to burn their whole fucking town down. You know what I mean? But it's the global capitalists that you never see. But that's why I keep pointing to the likes of the Charlie Kirk clip, Donald Trump as well. Like they're the people that are saying it's like fucking the globalists. If you ever like listen to like a full Donald Trump speech, you will hear him mention it's like these globalists want to deindustrialize America. I'm bringing back manufacturing, all this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
But isn't that why Make America Great Again is like, I know MAGA is like vilified, right? But isn't that the most important point?
No, but like Vintage kind of came in. And he was kind of saying remember with the whole Nick Fuentes thing and all this kind of shit. And it's like, well, like Nick Fuentes kind of has a point, and you know what I mean. Like Trump's not doing anything. Nobody can see what Trump's actually doing. Like even though Trump is actually telling you, like, and he's putting out all these press conferences in the White House and all this kind of shit, press secretaries, and like they're running through the whole like agriculture fact that like 80% is owned is like foreign, like your own food supply and all this kind of shit. And like the two of those companies, like 4 companies, I think own 85% of like all the agriculture or the food packing in America, and 2 of those companies are Brazilian. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like he's pointing all this shit out, but like no one gives a fuck because like it was the mainstream media as it's called, but now it's just the influencers you telling you, oh, Trump's not doing anything, and it's, you know, he brought us into a war, and that to me was like the he betrayed me, and he like you should feel betrayed because Trump betrayed you. You know what I mean? That's why like I kept saying the crazy, like I genuinely don't know how to point this out any clearer. And it's like, to me it seems like to be like the bigger picture thing. People get lost in the details or the specifics and all this kind of shit, but it's like when you take the step out and you look at the big picture, it's like Trump's a fucking hero for the shit that he's done, but probably going to end up with a bullet in his head for his troubles.
I don't know. He's pretty good at dodging the bullets.
For now, when he's out of office, it'll be like his security get lowered. The Democrats, when they're in power, they might even remove it entirely.
But this is what I'm saying. Like Nick Fuentes, that's why
I almost did that. I almost did that.
Who benefits from undermining Trump if the enemy is global capitalists? Global capitalists do.
Also, isn't this like kind of what we were talking about earlier? Is like, where's the threshold before violence begins?
Yeah, I think some people have a misconception, or they make an error in what they perceive is actual value, and you know, everyone else on the outside can go, that actually has no value to you. It doesn't benefit you whatsoever, but in their mind, it does.
Mm-hmm. And to be clear, I was not inciting that. I'm asking questions. Sorry if that's TOS.
No, I'm not saying you're inciting or whatever. It's like that to me was like I want to kind of like take a step back and kind of go, okay, is it actually a self-defense mechanism, or is it just like the big picture thing? And it's I genuinely think it's just like people just cannot like do the big picture or just like hold like the different aspects, because it even happened on Easy's panel beforehand, where on the one hand they were saying, oh my god, we have to fear this war and all this kind of shit, and then the other hand it's like, yeah, remember when Easy showed the picture of all the planes on this kind of shit? And they were like, yeah, no, we could wipe all them out. No, easy. No problem. Easy. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, you cannot hold both of those beliefs.
Yeah. Because,
no, what I'm saying is from their position, on the one hand, they say we have to fear Iran and all this kind of shit. But then on the opposite side, they're saying there's no way in hell they're going to be able to do anything to us because like we're untouchable. It's like if you are untouchable, if you are invincible, then Iran's should be a walk in the park. But it's being hit with like the psychological warfare. Like you're being fed with like all these like influences and all this kind of shit that will claim that they're right wing, they're claim that they're nationalist, but they're not.
I think there's a quote for this. What is it? When weak men fail to take action.
Oh yeah, come.
Good, evil triumphs when good men do nothing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. I was, it was something like that.
I do think that's where America is right now. But there is a good man, and he's trying.
As we were saying to Vintage's point, it's like if Trump was to do the thing where he started locking people up and all this kind of shit, he galvanized the Democrats, the propagandists from the Democrats. Say, see, we told you, he's a fascist. He's locking up his political opponents. He's doing just exactly what Hitler done.
Yeah, and I'd just be like, and what?
Then you see like BLM times fucking 100. It's just complete, and it devolves into the Civil War, or revolution, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah, I agree.
Where's GLM?
GLM goats loves, man.
Yeah, I mean they count too.
Yeah. No, I'm only pushing that narrative just because I honestly, and I said it before, I don't know how else you get around conflict at this point. And not that I wanted to. I'm like, okay, well, this is the extreme. This is what's going to happen, and I'm hoping, I guess, to some degree, someone's going to come up and go, well, no, actually, we don't. And here's a solution. Right now, all I hear is that's not the way to do it, but there's no solution.
That's what I'm fucking terrified of. To be totally honest, like, don't get me wrong, I bleed red, white, and blue. If I have to, I will. But the only conclusion I can come to logically is it's gonna blow up in violence and not blow.
Well, you
up
guys had false conscription. You won't get a choice.
Yep. I signed up for that shit.
Yeah, well, you have to, don't you? Isn't it like a law over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
why they don't call it volunteer work. They call it conscription.
They also used to have what was the age for conscription? I think it was 35, but they recently changed it to 42, and I'm fucking 41 years old.
Conscription's only at 42. Wow, I would have thought they would have made it like 20.
I mean, that would make more sense, right?
Like, just, if you need to call your banners, call everyone.
I am physically fit though, so it does affect me in the sense that if it turns into that, I can't get away from like reducing it. It's gonna end in violence, which I don't want.
Yeah, but like, why should you be killing a fellow American when it's global capitalism?
I don't know. I can't justify that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I should be able to.
I think
there are communists
go ahead.
and like full blown communists and all this kind of shit, but that's why, like I said, I'm more than willing to take the bullet for this, because like National Socialism is your only saving grace here.
Oh, I'm 100% for Christian nationalism, or just the United States having a fucking goal in the nationalist idea. But the word itself freaks people out. I don't know how you convince them.
It's the only thing that's going to pull back, because like think about how far that goes into, let's call it democratic territory, right? Like that pulls all the socialists, all the liberals back onto your side, and then in terms of the right wing, that pulls everything absent the global capitalists back onto your side. It's like 90% of the political spectrum. You have like the 5% on either end, the communists, mentally ill communists, and all this kind of shit, and then the other 5% on the opposite end of the global capitalists. Why I
Well,
keep
and
saying
that's
like Charlie Kirk, that's why they got rid of Charlie Kirk, because he was in that like perfect moderate center, the reasonable voice, really good speaker, and he was even saying in that speech, like this is bigger than us. This is going to see like, you know, Democrats and Republicans unite. You know what I mean? Us versus the oligarchs, us versus the globalists.
is that how we unite? Is there a way to unite without violence?
Yeah, National Socialism.
It's interesting.
Now, this doesn't mean, because this is the problem with socialism, or like what I was
Well, it's
highlighting,
'cause
or
of the
what
word
Ryan's
and the
been
way it
highlighting
sounds.
with the liberals. You need to have limiting principles. Ryan's trying to say to the liberals, like, we should have the limiting principles of the Constitution. Andrew's saying in terms of like Christianity and all this kind of stuff in terms of the nationalism. But in terms of when you look at it from, especially from like the aspect of capitalist and communist, National Socialism is that strict limiting principle.
Hmm.
But how many people are willing to call themselves National Socialists?
I suspect not many at the moment. For the moment being the key term.
I was gonna say it, but it's because of the socialist. Because it has such like a negative connotation here.
Hmm.
But I don't mean that like isn't logical. But I guess would that be like how speech has been skewed?
Hmm.
No, that's why, like I said, I have the other name where we just call it aristocratic national republicanism.
Yeah.
But then you still have the same issue because the Democrats then won't like it because
Mhm.
I'm not a Republican.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because the key thing is that it's like, so long as it's not fascist National Socialism, which is what Nazism was. Because, like you point out with the globalists, if you give them a fascist, like a supreme leader, it's like, oh, all we have to do is just fuck around with this one dude, and basically we have him controlled, then we have the whole country controlled. We'll get him to deindustrialize. We'll get him to open the borders or whatever the fuck. Do the free trade thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, my silence is thinking.
Yeah, no worries. Take your time. Like I said, this is we're not exactly talking about like running the mill shit. This is like the conversations that the big boys have, so to speak.
And it's going to take
behind
a
the
lot
closed
more.
doors.
It'll take many more conversations too. It's not something you're going to solve overnight. Hell, you're not even going to solve it in a matter of months or even years potentially. So, but you know, you got to start somewhere.
For sure.
The
And
key-
I think this is kind of what, like, when you had the prompt way a long time ago, one of the first ones, the free speech and censorship thing. I think we're seeing, because we talked about that a little bit before, well, obviously on that, but I don't want to say that necessarily, but being able to have discourse and talk about things is rare on most social media platforms.
Hmm.
But I think we're going to see something interesting, because we've seen the rise of Speakeasy, we've seen the rise of Tareyak. It's going somewhere. If that means anything as far as like free speech and that people care and want to have these types of discussions.
It all starts somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, I'm probably going to have to call it, and 'cause, yeah, it's getting really late. I have a long couple of days ahead in traveling, so yeah, I'll probably catch you at VK next. I'm pretty much going to be home probably a half hour after VK starts, and then I'm going to jump on. So, yeah. Thanks, Shazzy.
We got
Appreciate
Shaz
it.
going. I'm going to be wrapping up as well, Vintage. So like we might as well kind of wrap it up here too. Jazzy with the £20 says, I'm fed up listening to grown men talking shit. Lol. Get up off the internet and do something about it, lol. Tareyak. Don't worry, Shazzy. This is and I don't want to leave this on the whole kind of like down moment. I want to leave this on the up moment, because if you pay attention closely, specifically what Trump's doing, specifically what certain nationalist candidates have been doing, because that's the one word that's not like hasn't been like poo-pooed and completely driven into the dirt and all this kind of shit, is like the whole like nationalist things. The one thing I would say to you as right wingers is, if there are nationalists who start like talking about like education or talking about certain things that need to be socialized and all this kind of thing, at least hear them out, because they're, like I said, they do play them off and all this kind of shit as well. Like we've seen what happened with Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, like all these like supposed like right wingers and nationalists and all this kind of stuff. There is, like I said, there is what would be the correct way? Like, remember when I was talking about the whole like Nazi infiltration, American, all this kind of shit? There have been like defectors to that whole thing. People have said, fuck this, like we're not done, or we're done with the whole like fascist thing and the globalist thing and all this kind of shit. There are people that are willing to fight for the nations. The only the key thing is that like the one thing that prevents globalist takeover is nations, sovereign nations.
Yeah,
like I said, it's not going to be easy, but as you can see, like, you got Jake in Australia, you got me in Ireland, you got Tommy Robinson in England, you got Andrew and the boys in America. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There is potential, as they say. Is there anyone actually, by the way, that I can raid into?
I think is Emmett still live? I saw Emmett live a while ago. I don't know if he's still around.
The only one for me is Darth's the only one online, but he's restreaming this.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep streaming after this though. I did have a question for you, Tareyak, and just because you asked me that, I forgot. Oh yeah, how come this is gonna I don't mean it this way. I can't like promo on your channel. Or I mean your server. Your server. Like when I go to like yeah, self promo. It says I can't. I don't know what that is, and I'm actually curious because I don't know how that's like how to restrict that on mine.
I don't know what self promo is.
No, you're like
you've got like a tab that where you can like if
Yeah.
someone's live, you can like drop your link. Like similar to what you do, like similar to what you do on my Discord. Like when you go live, I've got like the channel promos tab.
Oh, in the Discord. Okay, one second.
Yeah, Discord for sure. My bad. That's sorry.
I gotta give you the role thing, but one sec. Click to this. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, you should be able to do it now, and you can hit the everyone tag as well.
Right
so basically, it pings everybody and all that kind of good stuff. Let me know if there's anyone else as well in the Discord as well. If you have streams on that kind of stuff, you basically are able to do the whole self promo thing, hit everybody with the ping. And all that Gucci stuff. But gentlemen, do you want to leave the folks with any final thoughts, nuggets of wisdom, any of that good stuff?
Oh, no nuggets of wisdom. Just thanks for having me on as always. Always good to have a bit of a chat and hang out. I'll see you guys on VK, and wish me luck with my procedure.
The
I'm gonna-
defense. Oh, sorry.
I got every finger crossed.
I'm gonna cry like a baby when I get that fucking needle. I just know it, but I can't help myself. I hate needles, but I'll be okay. We can poke fun at me
100%,
and
man.
DK afterwards. But yeah, all right. I'll jump out. Thanks again. Stay blessed, chat. 07s everywhere. See you on the next one.
Hell yeah, brother. And Darth, any nuggets of wisdom, final closing thoughts?
America needs to figure its shit out. I don't know how else to say it better. But I think we're on our way there. Or on our way there, but needs to get there faster. Other than that, I stream retarded shit about cannabis.
My man. Appreciate you coming on, Darth. Like I
and
said,
thank
man.
you for having me. Tareyak,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you for
my
having
pleasure, man. My pleasure, my pleasure. You know, it's not just USA, it's the world. Exactly, Shazzy. Exactly. You know what I mean? But like I said, there is a what would be the best word? There is what seems to be like a group rising up. And like I said, nationalist is the key word, but even within that, there has been like subversion or people that will kind of like go in and kind of like just to try and like, you know, get some fucking clout or get all this kind of shit. But as we've seen, there are like, you know, like actual heroes out there, like our boy Donald Trump, like Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul. You know what I mean? So this ain't over, as they say, Jazzy. You know what I'm saying? As they say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here because, like I said, I got shit to prepare for. Another thing as well, like I said, the debate is going to be on the 19th. One sec, let me make sure I get this down as well. It is going to be, yes, Tuesday, May 19th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Easy's. Like I said, it's going to be a quote-unquote solution, but I'm probably going to get shot for it. So, like I said, I'm more than willing to accept the bullet at this stage because someone needs to start talking about this shit. But like I said, it's going to be all sorts of name calling at least, and like I said, bullets probably going to be loaded up and waiting for me and all this kind of shit. But at this stage, I don't really give a fuck because they can go fuck themselves. You know what I mean? I'm at least go down dying. You know what I mean? Think back to 300 and Leonidas and all this kind of shit. But 100% Shazzy, 100% we're going to make Ireland great again as well. Don't you worry, Shazzy. You know what I'm saying? Ireland shall be sovereign once again as a 32 county, you know? And as a brother to England, not just, a fucking, what would be like a terrorist state and all this kind of shit. But if there's anyone we can set the standard off, I believe it is the one and only Donald Trump. This is why we always end off the same way, ladies and gentlemen. God bless Donald Trump. God bless America. And I'll see you all tomorrow.
Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life. And I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular.
I am your voice. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I say these words to you tonight. I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again.